I've traveled around the country, I've seen the dusty plains, but I'd rather be back home again, avoiding all the rains. Sat around the table with the culture running deep, with a harvest in the jaws and promises to keep. Give me a home out in the bush, please, with lots of more trees, a bong or two, me mate Wildroo and the rest of the crew, with Timmy, Tink and Mark too. We've got a strong culture and some good stuff to share, with the microbial plan and the science in the air. Got the masters of the craft and the crew's all there, in me old smoking chair. Give me a home out in the bush, please, with lots of more trees, a bong or two, me mate Wildroo and the rest of the crew, with Timmy, Tink and Mark too.
G'day everyone and welcome back to the Terpene Table podcast. Today we're sitting down with Tony from Aotearoa Dispensary to talk about, well, just to touch base with what he's building in New Zealand, his shop front there, the festivals, community, and what community and cannabis culture is across the ditch. So we've got the crew with us as usual. We've got Mud,
G'day everybody, how are we all doing? Thinker, observer. I like to see what's going on.
and we have Tink,
Hey, bless you all. It's really good to be here. Thanks for listening.
and we've got the bear Timmy.
The bear in the forest, here to go on a learning journey together. Let's blaze some trails.
And of course, the man himself, Tony. How are you, mate?
Oh, g'day, lads. Lovely to hear your timber in my ears there, Timmy.
Oh, likewise.
All right. Well, we're going to first dive in. I think we're going to start with what cannabis culture looks like in New Zealand right now to you.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think we've got a really wonderful growing culture at the moment, with medical cannabis, growing every day, more products becoming available. We're not quite at the library that Australia's got, but we're definitely getting there. It's a culture that's struggling to find its feet, amongst prohibition, because we're watching the rest of the world progress, and move forward. But it's one that's still got enough legacy players. It's still got enough heart, enough strength to really flourish, and we're looking good, man. We're looking good. At the risk of getting poetic, we're looking good.
Yeah, well, at my last chat with Poto from E3C,
Yeah, Paro. Yeah.
yep, he was telling me about how you guys look like you're getting quite close to home grow or to allowing home grow, and that's probably one of the next things on the cards for you guys.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I'll let him talk into that side of things. I'm definitely not sitting at the same table as he's sitting at when it comes to those conversations. But where it comes to experiencing as a community, we're really lucky. We put on a Christmas event just recently that we had an open door policy, so anybody with their prescription could come on in. We're not checking at the door. So we just, we're welcoming everybody that wants to be educated as well. And we just had a wonderful, wonderful night. So, we're getting to the point where we can celebrate these sort of events. We can get amongst as a community, and we can do it with a bit of freedom. But we're also not flouting anything. We're not trying to take the piss. We're just a bunch of people that are trying to get together and enjoy our community. So
Sh-
yeah,
Showing the genuine
yeah.
respect that kind of everyone's always insisted is there, but a lot of the governments and agencies that we've kind of come up against have just failed to see how respectful the Kana community is in a whole when they come together like that.
Yeah, and it's beautiful to see, isn't it?
It's fantastic. I mean, we were really lucky to have a really good mix of everything on an evening like that, and that's what you need. The right people, the right sort of atmosphere, for the right length of time. But in saying that, to hear that in the background things are moving forward progressively, especially towards something like Homegrow, is really positive because we're at a time where this medical isn't doing the right things for the right people. It does
Amen.
something for some people, but it doesn't
Yeah.
do everything for everyone.
Leaves a
And
lot to
as
be
somebody who's
desired.
quite,
Mm.
yeah, there's so many gaps, and it's filling certain plates. So yeah, we just need to keep that conversation happening, keep rattling that cage, and and remembering what we're doing it for.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think we could here in Australia, especially with this, that Christmas party thing that you've just talked about, and we could think we could learn a lot from things like that, and moving forward, maybe progressing ourselves into certain things that look similar to what you're doing there, and maybe start using what you're sort of doing as a blueprint.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it can be as simple as we have a clinic which has a space that we're allowed to use as a consumption area. The consumption area is full of all vapes and volcano vaporizers. So we have harm reduction devices available for everybody to use. There's no smoking inside. So if you've got your own Mighty or medical vaporizer, then go for it. If you don't, then hey, look, we can show you how to use one. And for our Christmas do, we said bring a present, max sort of value $20, and pop it under the tree, and at the end of the night we'll get someone dressed up as Santa to hand it out. So we relied on a bit of honesty, but we got to the end of the night and we had more presents than people. So that goes to show, everyone turned up, everyone was willing to put forward and give.
It shows where
just
the
to have
heart
that
of the Kana
opportunity.
community is, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh mate, it absolutely rocks. Absolutely rocks.
Having the right people is important, as you say, and setting the atmosphere is probably one of the most primary things, in my opinion. And setting the atmosphere within like the constraints that we're allowed within the law and things like that, because we struggle a bit with that over here. And I think the harm reduction thing is very, very important, because I look at when I was a young lad and sitting in the park, wagon school, smoking out of a crushed, Pepsi can or Coke can. Times, education is super important. We don't want kids out there, or we don't want kids doing it all, but, we don't want people out there getting diseases and all sorts of, tetanus and things like that from doing strange ways of these things. So we do need to educate a bit more, I agree.
Yeah, education and open discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to show
Yeah, but
these
again,
things, like to be able to show these things, so you have these gatherings and things, and you're presenting these things, and some of these people are seeing these things, going, oh, that's a really interesting way, or that doesn't look like taking a drug or anything like that. It's sort of destigmatizing it a little bit.
Definitely
yeah,
coming across community first. Sorry, mate.
No, you're safe. You're safe. No, I mean the devices we have. We're lucky they integrate with glassware. So if you've got your favourite artist who's made you, your bit of functional glass art, and you want to pull it out and use our device on it, all of a sudden it brings two worlds together. It brings together another side of the community that nobody really wants to give away. If we're all honest, I love going and watching my favourite artists create. I love watching Alex Gollivan. I like watching fucking Jimmy. There's plenty of guys who, getting to create is just as much of part of the community as getting to consume. So, we're still being able to provide a platform for them, but we're also saying, hey, look, there's other ways we can look at these things.
Yeah, well, that's right. Art, and
We don't want
there's
to take
so
away
many.
the fun. Everyone loves a tin can.
Or a bucket bomb.
I still use them. Yeah, I need to stop
Yeah,
those
but
ones.
that's right. But education around why there's different choices and different options, and what your healthier options are and things like that should always be open and at the table and shouldn't be gatekept in any way, I don't think.
I also
And that,
find those things a lot more social. Things like the volcanoes and things where people can sit around, they take in turns, and they sort of all do the same thing. It's a hands-on activity. You know what I mean? Sort of like passing around a joint or something. It's a bit weird
Well, there's
passing around
definitely
a
a bit of
bong
fun.
each, you know.
Yeah, well, there's something about having having that experience around a table. People are blown away by it. The ball vapes, it tastes like they're having a dab using flour, and that
Oh, wow.
that's something most people have never experienced. But everything comes with its risks. So, as much as it's a lot of fun, we've also got to talk about how we're doing things, and making sure everyone's getting home safe and all the rest of the fun things that come with host responsibility. When
Of
you're
course.
asking people to come out, because sitting in your own home and getting blasted and you can't move from your couch to your bed, well, that's your own problem. You're not at risk for anybody.
Yeah.
But when we're providing these spaces, that's become the biggest thing. Is if we if we're going to have somebody who's got dessert edibles, how's everybody going to be feeling at 1 a.m. And where are
Yeah.
they going to be? So we tend to keep our nights really short as well. We'll say 6 till 10, 10:30. And let everybody try and get home at a reasonable hour as well.
And gives everyone a safe option to get home too, generally at that hour.
It also
Yeah, we tend to do
bring
it on a Friday. So people aren't trying to jam it out as hard as possible like they do on a Saturday.
Yeah, it also brings what in these settings, a lot of people that are sort of newer to these things and newer to consuming these medicines and whatnot are able to be around people with a lot more experience that have been around a long time and able to sort of mitigate that risk a lot more. People such as yourself. Because I've seen people or I've known people that are fairly new to consuming and then they go and smash 250 milligrams of edibles and wow, see ya. You can have a bit of problems there. So I guess having that experience around to help people and guide people is really good.
Oh, you're 100% correct, but it's about learning dosing, and for a lot of people, when you go out and experience the black market, oh my God, I had this one brownie and it smashed me. What was in it? I've got no idea.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Exactly.
That's and that can
His old
be
mate's
that
uncle
can be
baked
as,
them. Yeah.
that's right, but it can be as harmful as it is helpful. The amount of people that are scarred for life from that experience. We had it at our last cup. We had 15, 16 entries for the edible competition, and I think we only had one, maybe two, that had any sort of dosing in it.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
So,
Wow.
so we asked for people to enter 10 portions, and we
Yep.
had all sorts of volumes,
Yep.
and you just look at it thinking, well, I've still got to function for
Who's that
2 weeks.
portion for? And yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, there's also like different parts of our community and the sourcing of things. And when I was a little younger, I used to source some stuff in a bad place online, and it was supposed to be sort of like a vape liquid, sort of like an extract, and I ended up addicted to it. I'm not 100% sure what it was, but it was an actual addiction. Like I got crack withdrawals from it essentially. So another aspect of that harm reduction is these, if you have people coming into these groups, they're not going to be very well accepted if it's not going to go well for them the next time they show their face if they start handing out a vape pen that gets people addicted to some sort of crazy sort of cutting agent or something. So that's another aspect to really respect with what you do.
Yeah. I mean, we still struggle a bit when it comes to quality control because the black market's the black market.
Yeah.
We would love everybody to be showing up with their with their prescription and their prescription only in the legal sense of it all. But we understand
Yeah.
that everything's
I understand that.
the real world's the real world. But we're not
Some
there
people
to
can't get 'em,
encourage
yeah.
that as much as we are the space. The truth is, hey, any of us, if we walk down the road and we were at the fucking fish and chip shop, give it 5 minutes, and there's a chance we probably would have talked about cannabis at some point. So we're going to connect no matter what. That's not the issue. It's just we're not there to be solely for a cannabis trading group.
Yeah.
I more
we
meant
want people
like
to
the
come and have a great
samples.
time.
You just
Oh,
don't
yeah,
have to sort of
absolutely.
worry about the samples. So, like, what I meant is if somebody comes and hands out a sample or something, say a testing, and you have an edible, and 5
Sorry,
out of the
brother.
6
Sorry,
people
brother.
vomit all over the place,
Mm.
like, you sort of know that
Mm.
if that person shows their face again, they're probably going to sort of get some trouble. That's sort of what I meant from there.
Oh no, you're fantastic. No. Well, look, I mean, we're really lucky. We've partnered with a handful of people that are really reliable when it comes to that. So whereas we might have had
A
a
good
little bit of
reputation in the
ambiguity,
community.
well, we have people that know dosing and can test and are giving us precise amounts, so we can give that as an example. You know,
Yeah.
We're lucky to be on the other side of that. To an extent. But in saying that,
But
yeah,
but I think it comes down to everything, and like you're saying with your competitions, and like Mud saying like your sampling and things like that, and people putting in their samples, they're not going to want to put something into this community that's being judged so heavily, that's of poor quality, or that they know that they have done something frowned upon too. You know what I mean?
There's
I think the quality
repercussions
is
for
going to
your
come
actions
with
in
time.
places like that.
Oh, absolutely. But I think the quality is going to come with time. What we noticed this year with the with the submissions was there was a lot of just lack of knowledge. There are a lot of people really trying, but they just
Yeah.
didn't know what
Yeah.
to submit. So what we got was this shotgun spray of different things. And some of it was, I don't know. Yeah, I can't even describe some of these, but they weren't. It was literally just a huge spectrum of quality and experience.
Yeah.
But we know that over time that's going to change. As the word gets out, as the community starts to understand the timing. I mean, I'm terrible with my advertising. I've got somebody on board that's going to give me a hand. We're about to start pulling the trigger on some of it, but we've just got to start getting sponsors on board and do all these things that corporate events are supposed to have. And you guys understand. I mean, I have to stumble my way onto Discord, so there's a few hurdles to get through, but once we get there, this thing will start to gain more traction. I mean, it already is, but it will start to gain even more traction, and it will become easier and easier to get that quality and to start putting it on show. And the main goal is to get everybody involved, the public involved. I don't want to be scrutinized as a judge and whether my preferences drove whatever. I would rather everyone have a chance to have a say. And then, hey, now you guys can discuss who's right or who's wrong. It's not down on my palate anymore.
Hmm.
Yeah, 100%. And I think touching on what you said, we're right at the foundations of building this big, like, over the pond community, and trying to actually get people out of the shadows a little bit. And I think as more people get involved in things like this, the quality will go up purely because people want to show off their skills. I'm a bit similar. There's no ego in it, but I'm very proud of what I do. So I think as more people are able to show how proud they are, I think that's when the quality will really start going up and whatnot.
It was crazy. Our timing was a little bit off last year. And I mean, obviously, you can't enter what you don't know. But we had people that literally within weeks of it was pulling out stuff that would have very, very easily challenged who won it, for all sorts of reasons. But the last, I don't know how long it's been, 9 months, maybe 8 months, all we've watched is people's ability to get better and better and better. I had somebody allegedly throw me a bit of allegedly trash, and this trash was as good as what I was growing 6-7 years ago, allegedly. So I looked at it and it just blew me away. Just blew me away. I just thought, we've come so far. This is fantastic.
Yeah, the knowledge it's getting out there. It's definitely getting further out there in communities like this. What's doing it, but unfortunately, there's a lot of them overseas and whatnot. So it's I'm really keen to get something up and going over here and work with you guys, because I really respect what a lot of you guys do. Those events, I can't wait to go to one day. Yeah, I can't wait to enter one day. One of those cups. I'll be keen for that.
Well, look, we'd love to have a guest judge, and I'm sure we could make something work if somebody was prepared to show up for the party. But the reality is we can give you this framework anytime. we can sit there and give you access to our Google Drive, which has got all of the information on it. It's got all of our spreadsheets, I guess you call them. All of our our drafts and our pitches and our objectives and all of the business plans. And it's all just been time, just time, just whittling down what we want out of this.
Yeah.
And trying to keep the right direction.
Yeah, get that vibe going. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, look, we're the size of a quarter of Sydney. I say that I've never actually checked it. I don't know how big we are, but New Zealand's tiny in that respect. But what I want to use that as an example of is you don't have to think that big. Melbourne can have their own Harvest Cup.
Yeah.
You don't have to involve everybody. And as soon as you can get yourself 15, 20, 30 people, and as long as a couple of them are willing to put a couple of things in, man, now all of a sudden you've got a couple of weeks of hazard.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks to try to live your life while you're trying to judge this fucking thing that you got involved in. And nobody gave you dosing. Go ride that roller coaster. And while you're trying to organise the last 2-3 weeks of this event,
I have a question about
it's
that
good fun.
dosing, the dosing situation. What sort of access do you guys have over there for like testing of your flour and your extraction, your sort of edibles and stuff? Because as far as I'm aware, over here it's kind of obviously restricted. It wouldn't be very easy for us, to send in some samples somewhere and get that tested from the legacy point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I'm being completely honest. I had no way of testing it.
Yeah. Right.
Anecdotally, we had these black gummy snakes. I think there were 3 or 4 of them in the judging pack, and most of us had eaten a couple of other things. And I can't remember whether it was a Sunday or Monday, but it was definitely that end of the week. And most of us had decided on the same night to eat them, with just by coincidence. And the next morning, after absolutely being written off for 12, 13 hours, hardly talk, let alone know your name. Somebody posted on the group chat, for the judges, holy shit, watch out for those black snakes. And all you got was like all this gibberish back from everybody else who were halfway through the trip going, fucking, we know, mate, we're riding it.
Yeah, wow. No, but I think that's a good, that's something that we should be allowed access to is those sorts of testing and whatnot. I'm not sure why that sort of aspect of things is gatekept, but that'd be a good thing to see. Yeah. Wish we could get access to those things.
There
I
are like
think
fundamental, there are like fundamental ways where you can bring forth some kind of idea of what MGs are in per what you've done. You do a round off for your percentage of flour and then how much quantity you've popped it into. And so there are some pretty generously guesstimations that you can bring forth to give some kind of idea of how much MGs that you've popped into stuff. They should have come with a warning label.
Is that called giving it to your dog?
Oh,
Break a
no,
little
don't
off
do
to
that.
see how he goes. No, I'm sorry. It's fair.
Come on, please don't encourage people to do that.
Well,
it's a bad-
I won't.
No,
I don't encourage anything, but it does help with a dog going through chemo that has lymphoma. I will.
Oh, yeah, something like that.
Oh, look,
Chemos,
don't get me wrong.
cancers, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't get me
Hands
wrong. There's
down.
times and places, but no,
Oh, yeah,
I think
forever.
I think for us, what we would do as an organisation is actually just put our foot down a little bit more,
Yeah.
and especially this year, and it's hard because we, I mean, I guess I'm having the conversation now. Hey guys, welcome to the table. We're sitting at the Harvest Cup 2026 discussion table, and we're having it now because the reality is this is a open source sort of event. The way I do it is let people make their suggestions. I'm open to what they've got to say, and this is the best way that I've found to handle these sorts of things. I've got a few ideas. I've got a bit of a direction, but for the most part, if the rules say if there's no dosing and the dosing's not accurate, that's a lack of points or that's an instant half mark. What are people going to do?
They're going to take
You
more
know, my course-
time to follow the criteria if they'd like to be involved because it's an important
You'd
part of
hope
it.
so.
It's my thoughts.
You'd hope so.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they
I
take
mean,
the
don't get
time in to
it's
do
a
their
nice
don't get
way
me
to
wrong.
measurements and
encourage it.
work out exactly
Yeah.
what
I mean,
they are supplying to people. Exactly.
Well, this is the culture that I think that, and you're saying about, being responsible and all of that. This is what we're trying to bring forth, is there is a responsible way to enjoy and get the most out of cannabis. And it's not about being completely wiped out or off your guts, unless that's specifically what you're aiming for. But not everyone is,
Or what you need.
and having
Yeah.
respect for the low dosage, and we're just going to constantly microdose because that works for me, with no shame. No shame. It's always
It's not
been,
about
I've
shame,
come,
it's about option. Hey,
exactly.
it's about option. Because the
Yep,
reality is, and I find it when I change up what I get, it can knock me out for weeks
yep,
sometimes. And I
yep.
had somebody say to me the other day, dude, I got a library of 27 strains. I said, cool. And he goes, what have you got? And I go, I got one. He goes, what? The same one as 6 months ago or 3 weeks ago or whatever it was. And I said, yeah. And he goes, how? I go, because I got shit to do, bro.
Yep.
Like, I need to know what the fuck I'm getting up to. And as long as this works, great medicine. That's it for me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't need
it
this
ticks
to
the
fucking
box.
remind me of why the fuck I, got up yesterday.
Yep.
I've got shit to do,
Yep.
I was 2 cones in last night and my boy bloody spewed up all through the bed. I can't be legless.
Yeah.
It's like life, all of a sudden life rings and you're sober again.
Yeah, well,
You're
that's
getting
right.
back on it.
Life is priority, isn't it?
This
Yeah.
isn't medicine.
We're just maintaining. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I
Although
think
I'm, I'm,
we
I'm, I'm
digressed a
down
lot
for
from.
I'm down for a story of excess anytime. If we want.
I've
Oh,
a,
look, I'm a long time user, and I'll be real. A lot of it, and I'm one of those shocking ones that has no stop valve. But the reality is, it's all about balance. I'm also a high functioning person, and it can get in the way. Yeah, I love it, and I love it too much. But it's the same with anything. There's got to be a time and a place. We're using it to betterment our life and betterment our mental and betterment and make it easier, to do everything. So going hard all the time just doesn't always work for me anymore either. Mm. What a shame I've acquired that habitual
Well, look, hey,
issue.
Tink, look, a story I've been dying to tell it at some point, but I'll get into it now. But to start this year, myself and a handful of others went and did a walk in New Zealand called the Tongariro Crossing. I think
Nice.
Tim, when you were here, you went and did something similar. Is that
I was
correct?
pretty much walking anywhere that I could possibly find to walk. Like I remember walking
No.
around the
You did
Hobbiton
Ruapehu?
car park, and yeah, and me and my mate, we just saw the mountain. We were like, that looks incredible because the entirety of the North Island that I explored was just absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, just went straight up that thing. It was great.
Nice.
Well, Tongariro is on the side of Ruapehu. So if you went up Ruapehu and you got into the snow, you got a bit of an idea of the sort of trek. And it's just a shy of 20 k's and about
Castle
1,000
burning.
kilometer. Actually, sorry. Yeah, it could be 900 k's elevation. I could be wrong. 800 k's elevation, and we got amongst, but to do it in a style of the people that were going, we decided to smoke a joint a kilometre. Now with 20 kilometres, there's 20 joints.
Oh,
I'd be
And you
happy, man.
underestimate the amount of oxygen you need to participate in life. And all of a sudden, you need a rest to get over the joint that you had, to get over the walk that you had to have the joint. It was, mate,
Yeah,
like I just
make
wanted to
life
be kicked down
hard.
the hill at one point. It did. But what we all did at the end was look at each other and just say, this is fucking ridiculous. Like we all love this thing. There's a time and a bloody place.
Yeah.
And granted, on the way down, it was when a guide had come around the corner and we were standing there with a big glass tube worth about about $1,200, a nice Apex tube, and Off-Grid Society is standing there with a big mountain in the background, and we're all doing what we came here for. But yeah, the rest of the world looks at you a bit sideways, and you think, all right, maybe we should have parked this. Maybe we should have let this not be what we were here for when we've got everything else here to celebrate.
Yeah. Well, not
Yeah.
20 anyway, maybe one.
Well, the funny thing is, we actually then did 23 Ks a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, and we were 5 Ks in, and the guys in front of me, we call one of them the Mountain Goat, and he did a 2.5 hour marathon. He'll be one of the guests on my section at one point, Mr. Offgrid, and I looked the same 45 minutes in as I did 6 hours in, which is like I was going to die, and it just proved to me again, like if I've taken the time in my life to be doing all of this, that I can't even walk like these guys, maybe it's time to have a break.
Yeah.
If it's robbing me of this, maybe it's time for a break.
And I think that's brilliant. I think that's absolutely brilliant. That's called balance in your own holistic health, Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it'll work against you. Sometimes it's about more for me about the topical use and enjoying the benefits that cannabis brings that way rather than the consuming it and needing it mentally, because I know that, over the last 5 years, I've dealt with so much that I mentally don't need as much as I did. And I think that's okay to bring that into culture and say, it's okay to not have to have it. It's okay to appreciate it in different ways or just support it and advocate for the freedom of it, and the freedom of use per person.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
We normalize pushing through and not talk about the ups and the downs and the ins and the outs of it all, especially when it does come to a long term. I would call myself a chronic user. I don't I don't want to give labels to other people, but I know that I will get up and have a cone probably regardless of whether it is what I should or shouldn't do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, when we talk intoxication, it's a different level.
Yeah.
It's a sausage in the fucking hallway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
and most
a
certainly is.
big difference, isn't it, between a
Mm.
consumer and someone who's just consumed or medicating into someone who is like completely off guts and trying to wipe themselves out. That's a completely different type of consumer too, generally.
Yeah.
Also, find it's very difficult, at least in my experience, to wipe yourself out after you've had sort of lifelong consuming. So you'd probably just be a bit silly sitting there all day smoking away. I have
Sorry,
a
love. I love it. I love it.
I have a question for you, Tyson. Sorry.
Yeah.
Tell me about the diversity of the people there. Like, what different walks of life are we talking? Because one thing I have found about our plant and about cannabis is the ability for it to bring people together from just everywhere. A lot of the people I've spoken to in this community and associated with are not people that I'd meet in my normal day-to-day life. It's just not people that I'd find myself associating with, and not out of deliberate anything malicious or deliberate. It's just how paths don't cross.
Oh, mate, I'm glad you asked. I mean, it blows me away, and this is the balance that we've been struggling to find. I'm not experienced with events or anything like that, so I sit there in a small space and come up with some harebrained idea and try and run with it. I'm more of a rugby player than I am an event organizer when it comes to that sort of thing. So I tuck it like a ball and run. And what I found was that when we had our harvest festival, that was a daytime event, and we had doors open, and it happened to coincide with a festival on a main road, Karangahape Road, up in Auckland, and we were able to get all sorts of people that had just wandered down and came to get amongst. So it blew me away that we were able to open our doors and provide something that people could get value out of, which was cannabis related goods. Not there was no flower for sale, but there was hemp t-shirts, there was tattoos, there were some edibles I think available, but we had artwork, we had glass functional art, but the people that came in were all sorts. You really could, there were all sorts. We had parents bringing kids in. we're trying to keep it in our
Wow.
18 space, but the reality is, in this community, we can't discriminate against parents bringing kids in because nobody's breaking the law.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing anything that requires you to be over 18.
Right.
These bongs, nobody's smashing a bong.
Yeah.
And I understand with shosha and smoking devices, but we got
But
to
at the end of the
talk
day,
art.
it's just functional art, isn't it? It's functional art. And if it's just sitting
Tim
there
came
on
through.
display, then
It's not illegal. Yeah.
And when I was younger, how many people did you see with their kids sitting out the front of the pub? So and they were actually in there drinking and being rowdy. So it's a whole
It's not so
different.
much that, but we're not huffing on a Powerade bottle either, or out
Yes,
of a
exactly,
can,
100%. Yeah.
or mainlining this shit. But if we digress a little bit, we go to our sow the seed, and I'm trying to appeal to growers and that side of things, to start the season and to get that idea going, and then we have our harvest cup, but that becomes a private final, event at night.
Right.
So you're kind of a bit limited to who can come there. So when we hit the Christmas party and it was open to anybody, what I've noticed is that there's, say, a good percentage of 50 people are coming, and 5, 6, 7 of them find out on the day. You're talking 10% of your party.
Yep.
So a good 10% find out literally by being there in the afternoon when you're setting up, and they can be all sorts of people. And last year we had tourists that are still in touch, still asking when the next party is going to happen. But tourists that have connected with other parts of the community, they've got themselves a prescription, they've got themselves a really nice bit of glass to use while they're travelling, and all of a sudden they're loving their time in New Zealand.
Mm.
They don't have to go to a tinny house. They can still get their cannabis, and they can consume responsibly. And they're in the South Island doing big walks across, Queenstown, and they send me photos all the time. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But
And
they were
that's
just
the-
able to come
And
because they
that's
bought a
staying
present.
within the legal framework. So
Absolutely.
yeah, okay, I
They've
understand
spoken
all
to a
this
doctor.
now. Yeah.
Doctors decided that
Yep.
they were in need of this cannabis.
Yeah.
But
Incredible.
they were invited to come to this party by walking past. They saw everybody going. They said, "What's this?" And we come along.
Yeah.
And it becomes that simple. So by the time we had that Christmas party, I didn't know most of who came. There was a small handful of my sort of what you call my clique. But
Mm.
now we're getting to the point where this thing can be organic.
Yeah.
So we're trying to decide, especially with the cup, how we can organically invite more people, because we need that sort of, randomness. We need all sorts of people to be there.
Yeah.
What's
We
like
don't
the
just
a
need-
common misconception that you get from like having such a diverse group of people, especially with that festival on at the same day during like Harvest Fest? What's like a misconception that you, I guess, is able to be addressed by the education that is at one of these events as well?
Yeah.
That-
Yeah.
Probably that everyone's going to be sitting there unable to speak in some sort of stupor because everyone's got this wacky backy in them. It's a moving, lively. There's so much to it. There's food, there's drink.
Yeah.
Oh, it
there's
was
music,
absolutely incredible. Like that was my first
So-
experience with New Zealand's cannabis culture in general, and like what you guys offered was exactly that: communication, learning, like knowledge, friendships, like all of the building was as organic as you guys have built it. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken a long time. 2019, 2020 is when the medical cannabis scheme rolled out. We had a guy there, Josiah from Chill Division, and he set up a couple of chairs and was just having a conversation with people to try and dispel some of the myths between the connection of medical cannabis and cannabis culture. Now, I'm not here to have anything to do with his chat, but what I did want to say is, from where he was sitting at Harvest Cup, at Harvest Festival, in May, he's been able to get a product that hasn't left the country, that was grown in New Zealand, that is trimmed and now on the market to New Zealand customers, all within 12 months. So by the time we come back round full circle to this Harvest Festival again, this man can sit there and talk into that. And that's what I love about this culture,
That's brilliant.
is, we're not trying to put doors and barriers between anybody, because everybody's experience is real. this dude might have been labelled a Chad by others, but the reality is, his experience 5-6 years in, I can't talk into that. I can't talk into any of that sort of experience. So I need him in my, at my table, so that when I need to ask a question, I've got the dude who's got the answers there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
these events
Wealth
open up
of
the opportunity
knowledge.
for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, between him and Perot, they're the steps in to talk to these guys at the table with the, Medical Cannabis Council and the people that make these decisions. And, the irony becomes that he's not going to get this product on the table or to market or through the pharmacy or whatever it is without these people accepting what he's done as being the right thing. Because that's what their job is to do, is to police the right thing in their eyes. So Perot is the same. Perot's come from a legacy background, but he understands what these guys want, and he's providing that to get a business working. So for both these guys, I've got huge respect that they're still stepping back into our market to give us credibility. Because should anything get flagged or come up in the future, we've got somebody there backing for us.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Well said. We need a lot more people active in the broader community, not just in the legacy, not just in the legal, not just in that sphere. We need people in the cannabis community as a whole with knowledge and connections with everybody that can just state the facts, and people can consult without fear of any sort of bias and whatnot. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
100%, mate. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're right, because that's what I keep coming back to, and it's something that I'll always say, is that anybody in this space that is involved with cannabis has a voice. And, don't be afraid to speak up and share your voice and share your opinion.
We don't have to agree with the voices. None of us have to agree with the voices, but the voices are still there and need to be heard over the voices of the people.
Be
that
heard
are
and addressed.
denying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I think what part of the key is, and you're right, but it takes a certain person to be this sort of navigator. And I'm not here to blow my trumpet. I don't know what I sit in this, although I'd like to think I am. I'm traveling this path. But what I'd like to hope is that when we get these guys at the table, what they are talking into is constructiveness to what we need.
Yeah.
So what we end up with is, although we might not agree with medical cannabis, these guys aren't sitting there with a medical cannabis hat on. That's where they've come from. But by the time we all get to the same table, we're all wearing the same hat, which is cannabis. And we've
It's the
stripped
cannabis
ourselves
hat.
of the rest.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's our experience and our backing and our foundation that gives us the ability to give those people the respect to answer those, that side of things. But what we also expect is that when we speak up about what we need and what we expect, is that they listen and that they repeat it for what it is. They don't water it down. They don't twist it. They don't
Twist it and
dismiss
mince
it. They give it the exact same respect that we give them. And
Yes.
we're lucky because from a legacy point of view, okay, we are the big brothers. There is a little bit of we've got the stick first and we want to have our chat. But the reality and the bottom line comes down to, if we want to play this ball and we want to have these events, we've got to let these guys have some sort of say at the table too.
Yeah.
If at
100%.
least
Got to work
let
with them,
them have
not
that
against them.
understanding.
Yeah.
Well, we all
Yeah.
have to work together in this space.
Yeah.
But the reality is, in my opinion, is that without them respecting the legacy side, they kill the legacy market, and that's unfortunately what happens everywhere legality goes.
I mean, look at America with the clone only, no beans situation. Looking at happening right now. So
Well, look at all the growers out of Canada. They'll all turn around and tell you straight up that they wish it was illegal again. So
I'm hearing a lot of the same thing out of the States right now.
So there's got to be a framework put in place where it works for everybody.
Trusted
and
framework.
exactly.
That won't be reversed.
And what Tony's doing, and people like Porto and all of these other people that have come from a legacy background but are now into that market, are the voice for us and for the rest of the legacy. And like you're saying, Tony, like if they can put forward what you're saying and what these communities are showing, exactly how it is, and if they can have a seat at the table and see it for themselves, that's such a great way to change things moving forward, and it's such a great way for them to actually listen and take on board.
We've got this weird space at the moment where I want to be careful what I say. We've got this weird space in the moment because our country is so small. We have a lot of control. So although the legacy, although the medical market is there, the black market, it speaks for itself. We can have people in other discords that run their own version of medical discord servers that can walk the walk, and do what they want to do in their experience. But a lot of them aren't from the legacy. They're not from any sort of legacy experience, and it's painful to watch because you kind of see a little bubble fight among itself while you sit back and know that, hey, we've got a massive group of people that are sitting back here that are slowly coming to take over what you're doing because these guys have got the money to do it.
Yeah.
And what they're not realizing is that medical cannabis agency in our country, as far as I'm aware, and I could be completely wrong, but if you set up and you have the right security and the right lights, they kind of turn up to do an audit, and you pass the audit and you pay the money for the certification. But nobody says, where did you get those really cool lights from? Or who paid for that? Or how are you funding the situation? Or, that weed's really skunky, where did that strain come from? Because if you put on paper that you got it from this XYZ, then everyone goes, cool.
Yeah.
Well, you've
So
talked.
you can only imagine the type of people that are
before.
stepping into this. Yeah, you can only just imagine the type of people, which I'm not against, but the people that have turned up as corporates have got to watch out because, like I say, the trash is turning up as good as any of the flour that's
too right.
up the top of the black market at the moment. And these people, none of the stuff is getting washed or fucked or anything. These people can just grow their asses off, and they've got a facility where nobody can come and hassle them.
Yeah,
And they've got access to all the best fucking nutrients and all the best strains and all the best lights and all the best trim rooms. And they can do it with a mask on.
just got good investors, mate. That's all. They're just good at sourcing investors.
And well, as far as in my experience, these are fucking amazing growers. And they literally have taken it from a 3x3 or a 2x2 and they've scaled it up to a 7 fucking room industrial complex.
Yeah, because you've
My
somehow
concern
still got that
is-
loophole there in your framework there in New Zealand, which I don't
As far
think
as
we
I'm aware.
quite have. Yeah, makes it a
As
little
far
bit
as I'm
harder
aware.
for us legacy to get
maybe
into
they
that.
will audit it. Maybe when you're sitting there with a headhunter's motorcycle out the front, they want to audit you. But these guys, as far as I'm aware, that's not the gig.
Well, that's good to hear. That is good to hear that that's not sort of who's leaning into that stuff. And it's interesting that there is loopholes there. I think there shouldn't need to be loopholes. Is like over here to just tap into any form of the market, the overheads are damn near, to my understanding. I'm very naive on the subject, so I'm only speaking from my personal opinion and experiences. Just the overheads, just to list something on the medical side of things, is far out of reach of anybody, or even some people more on the heavier side of the flower things. It's very prohibitive over here. So those loopholes over there can probably be a good thing. I think they will get shut most likely, but I hope that they can remain open in a more official way, if that makes sense.
Oh, look, it would be lovely for things to be recognised for what they are, almost like a fish quota system for everyone to say, okay, turn your pockets out. What have you got? Okay, cool, we'll just divvy it up evenly. No harm, no foul. But the reality is there will be, like you say, there will be an element of the house of cards crashing at some point. So
There will,
it'll
but
just
I
be
think
interesting
you've
to
just
see
got to
where
hope
we're
what
at.
gets. Yeah, see what gets opened up before that happens.
Exactly.
Yeah, where we're at.
We lost our opportunity. We didn't fight early and hard, and we didn't get our voice in there. And
Soon
sort of
enough.
Corporate's a juggernaut in
exactly.
Aussie, Corporate's a juggernaut. And the thing is,
mate.
you're a continent.
Yeah.
You guys aren't a little country. You're a continent.
And our government likes producing chemicals. Second largest or largest producer of opioids in the world out of Tasmania. So And I don't see, you know,
Out of
little
Tassie.
craft farmers produce. Yeah, mate. I don't see little craft farmers producing massive amounts of poppies because it's illegal down there, and it's illegal in it. Yeah, so
But no, that's right. We are the biggest exporter of opium poppy in the world.
yeah,
So no wonder those devils have got bloody twisted. Holy
yeah,
heck.
exactly.
And the
You should call
craziest
it
thing about
bloody
those two different medical industries is that the opium poppies, they don't require security. Like cannabis facilities are mandated to have to even get licensing over here. Like
No, a kid can walk down the street and
Yeah.
duck under a little bit of fence and cut some off and go home, and yeah, no
whereas,
harm, no
like, you know,
foul.
I would have a lot better chance getting out of Wacol jail than I would getting into an Australian medical cannabis farm.
Farm and cutting off a
That's
nug,
very true.
exactly.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh no, our facilities are got massive security on them. It's not the, the bypass isn't so much that.
yeah. I think we're just
I know
saying
what
in comparison to
Yeah,
something
I
like
feel you.
that, and
feel
and our government's just so pro pharmaceutical that we've been so overlooked in this thing, and then now they only look at us or the cannabis market here as a pharmaceutical market
Yeah,
and how they can
Cash
make
cows.
it work for them. It's got nothing
Yep.
to do with the legacy. So
They're
guess
following the
that's
same
why-
models.
yeah, why a big thing like chatting to you who has firsthand experience with the New Zealand market and the way their medical and legal sort of facing markets are in comparison to ours is huge and eye-opening for a lot of people here too. So
Mm.
is why these chats are so valued as well.
Oh, look, I really appreciate the platform, guys. Again, we're such a small country over here. Although we do our bit and we make our own little waves. To have this sort of platform, we wouldn't be able to grow. We wouldn't be able to to really, how do you put it, test what we're doing if we didn't have the opportunity that you guys give us over in Aussie by just tucking us under your wing and sort of doing what you're doing, looking over your shoulder for us. Because we
And at the moment, it's you guys that are inspiring us. Like, seriously.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I appreciate
Yeah.
that because
Yeah.
I feel like to us it's a bit of a like we scratch your back, you scratch
inspiring.
ours type of thing. It's like if I
And
can give you a little bit of a platform and you can give us some insight and some knowledge into how we can make things better here and how we could put on some of these events and keep them cultural and within legal framework and things like that, and just give us ideas to work with, is huge. So
And I don't see it as tucking under wings. I see it as it falls back to some of the old school values that us Aussies and Kiwis had together. Go back to the Anzacs, mate. We're brothers. Us Australians and you Kiwis and everything like that. We've been together for a long time, and it's good to get sort of that cross pond connection and sort of that, I don't know, sort of that.
we didn't
that
need
Aussie and-
passports for a long time for a reason.
exactly. Like it's good to reconnect that culture back together, because I've seen a big decline in sort of the relationships between Maoris and Australians and Kiwis and things like that, and I'd love to see that this community be a great reconnector for it, because it's Anzacs and Australians and Kiwis, we're supposed to be working together.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah,
think we struggle amongst ourselves as a community as it is, and when words like Chads get thrown around, it becomes hard to really embrace everybody when there's judgment coming down to who or when you stepped in or how you did it or what you're up to or where your knowledge level's at. A big part of our nights is pushing people to go and introduce themselves to people they wouldn't normally talk to, and I don't mean in an awkward way, but when somebody's saying, "Hey, what's that person over there doing?" It's going, just go and ask them.
Mm.
And you know that 9 times out of 10, that person's dying to share what the fuck they're up to.
Yeah.
You know, like almost to a detriment. I remember mates saying, "Dude, there was a guy there that had the best dabs I've ever had in my life." And I said, "Bro, isn't it awesome?" And they were all free. And he goes, "Free?" He goes, "Mate, shoot my fucking ear off." He goes, "Dude, that wasn't free." He goes, "It was hardly worth it. I was there for 45 fucking minutes, bro." He goes, "The buzz had worn off." And I was like, "Yeah, true. That's a good point."
blew me buzz. Yeah.
He said, yeah. If he'd given me 2, it might have been worth it, but the 1, fuck.
Yeah,
struggling.
give me one, have the chat, and then give me one for the road, and I'm good. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm bad for that. I chat people's ear. I'm terrible.
Well, it just reminds me of, you've got to do what you're happy with, and there's a space for everybody. So,
course.
Yeah.
if the bro
Of
wants
course.
to yarn the bro can fucking yarn. I'll keep inviting him.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
If
course,
somebody
and you'll
mentions
find
it, I'll
people
laugh.
that's more than
Yeah.
happy to yarn with him too. I'm sure you'll find people just sitting over there yarning with him all night the next time,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He's got a missus now. I think he'll be a bit quieter.
Good on him. Good on him.
So while we were touching on going back and forth across the ditch, we haven't sort of announced to the podcast community yet, but Tony will be joining us for a monthly segment, and he will be bringing about a guest, hopefully more regularly than not, someone from the cannabis community there in New Zealand, and bringing forth some different knowledge and points of views, and so it should be really, really interesting going forward. So I hope we're all excited for that one too.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
Super
really,
Yeah, it's gonna
really
be
good.
sick.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, we'll take a little bit of work off you guys and hopefully give you a week off.
Mm.
But no, look, just really looking forward to giving these guys a platform as well. So again, I appreciate it. They're there doing their thing. So
Right.
hey, they
That's what the
speak to
table's
free
all
of
about, mate.
audience.
This is what's
That's it,
community,
mate.
exactly what it's all about, networking and conversations, and this is so exciting. This is great.
Well, I was just having that
Breaking down
discussion
walls.
with another, legacy grower today,
Mm.
who was saying that a lot of blokes will be scared to, people, will be scared to come on the podcast and talk because, it is what it is. We're traditionally just stay in the shadows. And I
Yeah,
said, but you can't expect things to change without the odd person speaking up. We've all
Yep.
got to speak up in some way, shape, or form.
yeah,
And I'm going to give you the platform to do so. And if I have to, give you a voice changer and things like that to get you on here to talk about your experiences, then we'll do that. But we're going to make it happen because these are the voices that need to be heard.
yeah.
So everybody can understand all sides of cannabis and how it works and, the ins and outs, because not a lot of people are in depth or have any knowledge of legacy and what formed and now what medical is standing on the shoulders of. So
Mm.
it'll be
And
good
even-
to chat to some of these guys. Sorry.
And even if we do have to, change your voice, distort your voice and things like that, don't feel bad about that or anything, or giving us a certain look. That's actually, having to show to people, look at what our community's having to do. Look at what our people, our leaders, our pioneers, they're having to hide the sound of their voice because they're fearful of the repercussions for helping us for this many years. Like, it's a great, also, it's terrible, but it's also a good message to send to say, look at the fear that some of these people are having to live in. You know what I mean?
Well, it's an eye-opener for everybody, isn't it?
Exactly,
And, it might
yeah.
be an eye-opener for some people who have listened to this and who are just, a home grower with a little tent that didn't quite understand, but, might be an eye-opener. So, yeah, I just want to bring those things to the table as well.
Yeah, I've noticed over the last couple of years that it's those that speak out that give, permission to those that haven't and have not been sure. And it's just been a case of legalities. People have been too scared. But, it's us, the brave ones, that give those permission too. And people warm up to it so quickly because people want to be having conversations. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's not just about being scared either. Like, they do what they do. They're
Yeah.
obviously not scared about doing what they do, but it's about they've got families and lives and
Yeah.
livelihoods to protect. And
exactly. Yeah.
at the end of the day, they can't jeopardize that
Yeah.
to speak an opinion.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is horrible in itself.
Yeah.
And
So-
I've
I
got
just can't believe I'm 3 hours 27 minutes into this, and you tell me you could have changed my voice. I would have gone
Second
for
round,
something
too.
more like Britney Spears, or something a little bit higher, just with a little bit more cadence. I don't know, man. Fuck. You've had people listening to this fucking thing in their ears. Fucking hell. Oh my god. Anyway.
but yeah, I think
Wait, never, eh? Anyway,
oh, gee.
move on. You can change it back,
Because
bro.
because you really, really, really need to hide, don't you, mate?
Uh,
You're so in the shadows.
I tell you what,
Pulling the
I tell you
string.
what, I'm going to dox myself, but like, I started a business and I was so gung ho that like fucking, I can't wait to do this and be so fucking legit. But I didn't realize like how much of my personal information I'd put on the fucking internet. You literally just had to put in my business and it told you where I lived. And then I thought, because I call myself a dispensary, I'm the same as a fucking hairdresser. I've got some fucking scissors and a fucking bonnet. I don't have fucking cannabis. So I thought I've got to make sure I get all of this information back off the internet before people start trying to knock on my door thinking I've got something I don't have.
yeah.
So we've got to be bloody careful out there. Because sometimes your
100%.
dimness can fucking, when your brain moves faster than your feet.
And that's why I'm so like I'm happy to stand up and talk for people and sort of give people a voice, because I understand a lot of people out there, they have a lot of things, family and things they have to worry about, their details getting out. I've got absolutely nothing to lose, so I'm more than happy to shout my voice at whoever will listen for our community. So yeah, I do hope we can get more sort of legacy old school people around, not even just old school, but legacy people around. But in saying that, if you've got something to say and you don't want to come on, we can also get your message across for you if you want to get a hold of us in some way. Because I'm happy to shout your message from the rooftops. I've got nothing to lose and no fear of the people.
Well, and we
looking to do
also
things
have
for
the
us.
chat here while we record live. You're also welcome
Oh yeah,
to jump in
there
if
you
you
go.
if you're
Yeah.
listening, or you can come over and join the live chats and have a chat with some of the crew sitting in the audience having a listen as well. So drop a question in there. I'm sure we'll get to it.
Yeah, look, I mean, look, that's a huge point, and that is the reality is, we're here as a funnel, as a platform, as a talking board. A lot of what I repeat is stuff that I've learned just through these conversations with people. I don't want people to think that this is some sort of shit that I come up with myself. It's really just spending the time talking, spending the time with people and chatting and chatting and chatting and chatting and chatting. You got to be in it to win it, eh?
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
you
this
miss
is
100.
how those that don't know get to find out. There's so many people that are so curious. They know that there's it's a world they want to be in, and especially on the medicine side of things. I've worked in that area for so long, and people want to know about it. They want access to it, and it's always been really hard on the legacy side of it to get that happening. But it does. I think the universe is more interested in getting these people access to good medicine. That's the only thing, to digress a little bit, that concerns me about the government medical side of it is the lack of medicinal benefits attached to it. And I'm brave enough to say that. I've come over a journey of mental health, but also physical issues. And I've found like the government makes it worse. The government's flower and stuff like that. I want to have respect for it, and I can't. And being a legacy person and working with the medicine that is accrued from that, legacy grows, and seeing people healed and seeing, like cancers healed and stuff like that. Where do we get to the point where what's legal is also medicinal? I get confused with where the marriage is between legacy and medicinal, because the government seems to be getting worse and worse. That's just Australia I'm talking about, because that's all I know. I don't know. It sounds like it's better quality in New Zealand. Do you access like
No,
worldwide stuff like we do here?
No, I think their
Um,
no,
framework is very similar.
yeah,
okay.
we've access to stuff from around the world, but you've got to think New Zealand dollar is quite a weak dollar. So by the time we're out there canvassing, we don't have a lot of
Yeah,
buying power. So we've got to go to the big guys who say this is what we've got that's going to fit within
right.
your criteria. So
Okay,
that
so it's similar situation.
instantly then means that you can't, lots of options aren't there. I mean, to
Yeah,
see stuff like cookies and all that turn up in the Australian market is
yeah,
crazy. The people
yeah,
that are willing
Yeah,
to try and fit that mold. I haven't tried the chill division stuff, but that's the first stuff that's not irradiated, that's never left the country, that was grown here, that should be full flavour, full noise, for
Yeah.
what they can grow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it
So
does
it's
sound
full
like we're
medicinal.
taking good steps, but
Yeah,
that's
okay. I like hearing
that's
that.
one option.
Yeah.
One option for one cultivator.
Yeah.
I think what's
And that's,
what's
sorry to
funny
interrupt there,
here.
Tony, mate. I was just
Yep.
about to say, Tink, on what you were saying, I think we've got very similar here in Australia. There's a couple that are sort of teetering the boundaries of what they can get away with
Yeah.
irradiation and things like that. So
Yeah.
there is a couple trying really hard to do the right thing,
Okay.
but
Okay.
they're just stuck within the framework that they're
Yeah.
working within too,
Yeah. And
which
I
is why
have
we need these discussions to make it
Yeah.
change.
Yes.
So anyway,
Amen.
sorry.
That's safe,
Continue,
but
Tony.
I
Sorry,
think
mate.
well, no. I think what I stumble at with that space tank is that when they try and put labels to things, so like we're saying, I change the strain and it changes my day, and it takes me a little
Yeah.
while. And for
Yeah.
me personally, I like to find a groove in the same strain. So if somebody's got allegedly pounds of cannabis and I can
Yep.
access the same strain, then that suits me.
Yeah.
For other people, they might want to change it up every week. They might want
Yep.
to decide that they only need that one cone, and if one cone doesn't do it, then they want the next thing and the next thing. Now, as a doctor, that's for a doctor to talk into what that habit is and what that's
Yeah.
creating and how they can fix that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But what I struggle with is that in the black market world, there is an option for that guy,
Yeah.
and people
Exactly.
tolerate him, and people don't call him names, and people don't go and label him,
Yep.
and he's getting by and doing his thing.
Yep.
Is it right? Is it robbing from his family? Is it taking him too much time? I don't fucking know. But
Mm.
does that happen when you play pool? Does that happen when you have other sorts of hobbies? I don't know. It
Yeah.
can. But we've got to let people live their lives. And when you try and get this medical to fit the certain criteria, this is going to stop your headache. I struggle because I've been in discords where people want to have that chat.
Yeah.
What
And
does
I'll argue
what
with
does
them all
Smith
day
18?
if it
What
won't.
does Smith 18 do? Oh, Smith 18 will do this and this for you. Well, will
Yeah.
it? Because the reality is, what you should be saying is, Smith did this for me. You
Exactly.
need to
It is a
decide for
unique
yourself.
experience.
So
Yes.
yeah, change the protein, like the pronouns, or what, or how, I'm not even English well enough to
Yep.
fucking articulate what I'm trying to say, but
You're making sense, though.
change the way you speak,
Yes.
because at the end of the day, if you can talk into yourself, people will respect you for your experience. If you want to tell everybody else what to do, well,
Yeah.
fucking get qualifications that let you.
Yeah, but even those
Otherwise,
You need the
qualifications
men.
that let you
Who the fuck are
don't
you?
tell you
Yeah.
exactly.
well,
Yeah,
no,
you can walk into a
well,
doctor
I'd
and
like
he'll
to
say,
hope that
"Well,
by the time you
this
get there,
strain will work for you," but
Yeah. It's a
majority of
unique
the time it won't.
experience. Yeah. Yeah.
And this is
you
why
know what I mean?
homegrow should be available for people to run 2 or 3 different strains and work out what works for them.
Yeah.
And
We all
if
have
we're
different
talking
economies.
medical, that should be part of the priority list, in my opinion.
Well, I guess if we're talking experience, one thing I have not done is ever spoken to a doctor and asked them of their opinion of homegrown and whether they would, if somebody was smoking it, refuse to treat them as a patient.
I've spoken
the
to a
reality
couple,
is-
and I've spoken to
is
a couple
that-
of mental health
Yeah.
people as well surrounding that, and they reckon that, from what I can gather and what I've been told, that they think that that's a great thing for people if they're finding mental health and all these benefits in homegrow. Because a lot of people are finding it just by connecting and communicating with a plant and having something to love and cherish and care for.
But
as well.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
they're not on the same level with themselves either in their so-called profession either, because the same industry that is saying that home grow is, some of these are saying home grow is good, blah, 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 et cetera, and talking out of their asses. Some of them, the same industry is turning around to people and saying, you smoke cannabis, it has given you mental issues, so from now on you are no longer allowed to smoke cannabis and we will not enable you to do so. So the issue is also that as well. When cannabis starts to become blamed by these same people that say you should be allowed to grow at home, suddenly you're not allowed at all. And who are they to make that dictation?
Well, I got a prime example of I was speaking to someone and they lost someone who was considered they were deemed that they had died from cannabis, and now this person is like a mental health doctor and whatever else. But this person was drinking. They were using speed and another substance, but they smoked cannabis, greened out while they had passed out from the other things, vomited, and choked on their own vomit and died.
So they
But
died.
according to a said medical professional, it was cannabis that caused the death.
Yeah. See, like, yeah,
And it wasn't.
that's where the mistrust comes in. So, you know, that's
But that
kind of where we're
person will
saying,
tell
yeah.
me, told me openly that they don't agree with that and that they know that that's not the cause because it was mixing all of those things that was the cause of that person's death. But they can't come out openly and say that in a public space because it's the judgment from their community and their peers.
Yeah.
That's really sad.
Yeah.
That is sad to hear. And that's where the change needs to take place too. There needs to be a multi-tiered approach to this. This is a societal issue, and not just this is systemic. We need to, the approach to this is there's people in the medical field that are suffering from just as much censorship as we are, to my understanding. So,
Yeah, I think that was partly my point. Yeah,
that's what I was reiterating.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have actually.
I mean, look, but again, I'd like to say that most of them are getting rewarded for stepping into where they are.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that. That financially, these doctors that are going against a lot of what their other peers are saying are being financially rewarded for at least stepping up for the meantime. But it shouldn't be like that. Money shouldn't be the driver, and these
Shouldn't need to
clinics and the way
incentivise
they
the truth.
run, they shouldn't be these top-heavy things where the patients are paying to make these doctors rich to let them have this access. It shouldn't be happening like that.
I'm not
I
sure.
think it should be an option. Like, I think
But
people should have that option.
Like that in New Zealand.
Sorry, mate. Go, mate.
How does the process go over there in regards to getting an appointment and whatnot? Is it the same to here where you pay money, you book an appointment, you talk to a nurse, you pay some more money, you get your appointment, you talk to a doctor for 3 minutes who probably doesn't even speak your language, let alone know how to prescribe this particular medicine, and then that's that? Or
Actually, now over here, I might have to talk to a doctor. You can't talk to a nurse anymore.
so you
Your
talk to a
first
doctor first? Wow.
So it
Okay.
has to be a doctor now. That's just changed in the last 6 months. They've tightened that up. I don't know whether it's 6 months.
Oh God, that's going to
it
cost
has
a lot
changed.
more then.
Well, yeah,
So
it's
for all of the
usually
medical patients.
yeah.
We're
Right.
really lucky. We've had the opportunity to, when you sign up, you pay your fee. You tend to fill out a Google form of some sort.
Yep.
You go from that Google form to to booking your appointment. Most of them are around about $50 New Zealand. The appointment be 15-20 minutes. I guess
Wow.
that gives the doctor another 10 minutes for his half an hour slot. To fill out your paperwork and then have a sip of water or whatever before the next guy. So they they churn through you, but they I guess
So
they
the
back
doctor,
themselves that
yeah,
their Google form is thorough enough to red flag anything.
yeah,
It's all on an honesty basis, like any sort of doctor.
Yep.
But the biggest difference is that a normal general health practice in New Zealand is subsidised by the government. So they provide some form of subsidy depending on how many people you have on your books at the beginning of your financial year, whereas these clinics don't. So they rely fully on the funding provided by the people using the clinic.
Yeah.
I believe
There's zero
the same
subsidy
thing, yeah.
whatsoever. So
Yeah.
you pay your $50. They might charge some form of dispensing fee. Of $10 or something for your script, and then they'll be linking up with a pharmacy that has some sort of deal cut with the suppliers to get them at a slightly better rate, and then they all have their own rates. So at one point we had a spreadsheet, so you could go on and patients could compare who was charging what,
Yep.
whether it be clinics or pharmacies or whoever.
Yeah, we had
Um,
Honolulu
but-
Catalyst. Yeah.
How does the
Yeah, but
scripting
that got
work?
shut down. That
Yeah.
got shut down
Well, as
by
it's
the
open, but
by
you
the
got to be
authority
referred
recently.
now. Yeah.
How does the
Well, no,
the s-
just the spreadsheet with the information for the patients got shut
Oh,
down.
okay.
Everything else is still the same. But like if I was to go to my clinic, and I can only speak about my experience,
Yep.
I've spoken to my doctor who has given me access to the products that he thinks that I should be able to use.
Yep.
I'm allowed, I think it's 160 grams a month.
Whoa.
So I can buy um,
they're generous to you
whatever I'd
guys?
like. Just click on the thing, and I have 3 months loaded.
So whatever you
So
like. No specific
whatever I'd like.
cultivar or no specific vape or anything. Oh, we get locked in.
I've had a discussion with my doctor first. So the doctor might, for other people, decide to give some form of
It-
limitations. I'm not sure.
with the
My
way it
doctor
works with
for
us,
me
we
was
have to
happy to give me
specifically,
access.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
ours are
you,
But
generally a subscription system.
if something new turns up, I still have to talk to my doctor before I can
oh,
have
okay,
access to it.
right.
Right.
Okay, I
I
understand.
don't
Yeah,
just
so it
get
is
access
similar
to
to
the
ours.
full library.
It's not like the American version where you just walk in with a card or you go online with your card and you have access to the entire menu. You still
but
have to
I'm
ask specifically for
online.
a cultivar.
I'm using an online portal.
Yes, naturally, yeah.
Yeah.
What I meant is
So
though,
that's
like
my
when you get
version.
a script, do you get a script for say 30 grams of flour, 10 grams of flour, or do you get 10 grams of this specific cultivar of flour, and you can
No.
only purchase that listing?
With the clinic I've chosen to use, they've got options to um, suppliers more than individual strains.
I understand.
So
Okay, what I mean is,
they're
is it only one strain for one cultivar, or does that one prescription match? You can get any of those cultivars with that one
I can choose
prescription.
any of that.
Wow,
Anything
that's
that they have on
nice.
their
So
library.
they give you a
Yeah.
menu. Yeah.
Yeah, they give you
Yep,
a menu. We
absolutely.
don't get
They give
that.
me
We get locked into a cultivar. So, for example, we have to spend a certain amount of money, and then we have to get a script for one particular cultivar until that script is expired or used up, and we can only buy that particular listing. It's very
wow.
heavily regulated. The TGA's, yeah, it's quite annoying because people that are vulnerable are having to spend a big excess for these appointments and things like that, and this medicine, which is now being labeled a medicine and now in higher categories to be studied, and it is not being subsidized as a medicine, which is disgraceful. It's just greed. Anyway, yeah,
I mean, we've got some patients that are being subsidised here. We in
that's
certain
awesome.
circumstances, and
I think we may have
I
a
can't
couple
speak
too.
to any of them. I
There
don't know
are
any details, but I
there
know
are
there
a
are
few
people getting theirs
schemes here for
through
yeah,
insurance as well as public
yeah,
support.
that you can access to get subsidized, and they've brought out a range of what they call smalls, so
Yeah,
people
baggy
can
smalls
get,
are all that. Yeah,
and that's budget. You're looking at $60 or something for 15 grams type stuff. So they're trying to cater to the budget, to the cash flow challenge. It's okay because we'll give you the little bits on the bottom.
yeah, and you'll still have to pay the same price for the
Yeah.
appointment to begin with. But
Well,
they'll
you
happily
do, but
bulk bill the appointment that gets you opioids. Oh yes, they'll bulk bill that appointment until the cows come home.
I think it's similar very much to the dental scheme. There's not much subsidy, but it's early days. We've also come so far. I remember when it first started, and all you could get was CBD oil, and that's all they'd give you for like 6 months or whatever. And all everyone wanted was some flour. And then it was so exciting because you could get all these different flavors, and then there were a couple of companies that, like you said, Tony, that were really trying to do the right thing. Tassie Botanics over here. I'm losing it a little bit, but that's just because we end up with shelf life and stuff like that. But there's been some quality, and I think their intentions, you can feel it in the flower, and this is a difference between medical and legacy. Legacy has soul. Anyone that's partaken in it, used it, been healed by it, that's what they end up saying is there's more to it. And I think that's a little bit what so much of the medical is lacking, is that soul. And this is what we make up the difference, because that comes down to the people and the people involved. That's the only way it's ever going to change. Hey, it will. I believe we've got to believe that we can do something that will change things for the better, because I can already see it better than it was 5 years ago. I can see it better than it was 10 years ago. So
I just think we've got to keep continuing these
We wouldn't be
conversations.
We wouldn't be here if
Absolutely.
we didn't believe it, Tink. We wouldn't be sitting here discussing this, risking the things we do, talking about it if we didn't believe it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doubtful. I'm like 99% certain nothing will
No,
change.
I
But that
do not
1% I'll
doubt.
fight for.
Believe
for
and
that
do
1%.
not doubt, mate. Yeah.
You've got a good point there, Tink, because the reality is the wheels of commerce, the wheels
Yep.
of change, the wheels of political, parties and conversation, they all keep turning.
Yeah,
We can
exactly.
sit here and we can keep it repeating the same record.
Yep.
But the reality is, and I'm not here to say that there's anything pro any of this medical or opioids, but we know opioids are there because doctors can open a book and they're conditioned to think that what they read is what they get.
So
Yep.
true.
Yeah.
We might
true.
say that there's a rainbow of effects because we've seen it in our families, we've seen it in real
Yeah.
life because we've watched our different types of family go through different types of things. But these doctors are
Lived
conditioned to
experience.
believe, hey, look, I've read it. And when I go home at night and I eat my fucking steak on toast, I'm happy.
Yep.
I've done what I can.
Yep.
We throw variables in there that they don't feel comfortable with.
Because this
Cannabis-
study says
Cannabis
so.
fights in amongst its fucking self.
Yeah.
We're our worst
and
fucking
it's got
enemy.
a
Well,
stop.
So
Yeah.
did heroin.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly. No. So
Yeah.
did they. But they managed to get something in a pill that Tassie can support them with, that fucking Monsanto can buy, or whoever the fuck it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they create what they need to create to fit what fits in the book.
Yeah.
And
You're 100%
did you
correct.
guys have you seen that
Option.
kinetic style cannabis that they said they've created overseas?
Yep.
And it's something like you can put in your mouth. Apparently, it just dissolves. You can choose different flavors that back up your cultivars. So they'll taste like your strain smell. It's water soluble.
no.
All of a sudden, it's dosable. Well, you say no, Tink, but the reality is, if we can give this to doctors that they can get comfortable with,
Oh,
then they can
okay.
fuck
I
off with
get
the
you.
rest of our
Yeah.
fucking.
Drama
Yeah.
bone.
They can leave
Okay.
us to
Drama
grow
bone.
our own.
Yeah. Okay.
Leave us
I
to grow our
see ya.
own. And now all of
Yeah,
a sudden, the doctor can be
because that
comfortable.
evolution is always going to be there.
That's
So
right.
we've got to get
Let
behind
them
it in
involve
all
where
its
they need to go.
forms. Yeah,
You
That's
can
right.
still have a bad
Because
opinion
we're
about it. Tink.
comfortable where we're
I
at.
can respect that, even if that particular thing isn't okay for me because that's not how I want to live or blah, blah, blah. It may be okay for someone else, but it's also it's okay for the generating of the industry.
Absolutely. And it
Yeah.
gives them something to focus on.
Yeah.
And like you
Okay.
say, it might not be for us.
Cannabis
but hey, we
related,
might be
though.
sitting there at fucking 80
Yeah.
and being fucking grateful for it.
Yeah.
The way I see it, Tink, is I think I understand sort of what's getting at here is instead of someone that's say in their 70s or whatnot with arthritis and whatnot going in and the doctor hands them a opioid in a pill form, they hand them THC in a pill form. Well, we may not agree with that, but hey, at least at the end of the day, they're sitting down with the same thing that we have sitting inside of our spaces.
Well, as long as it's not the synthetic version of it.
Yeah,
I
there's a
suppose
lot of that.
I
There's a lot
can't
of that,
morally
yeah.
come on board that, but I can allow the process because I can't stop that process. All I can do is provide a different process, which is the balm I make from the roots.
Yeah, and I
which
prefer
we
your
really
process,
do.
and
But the
I
reality
prefer
is, you
Tink's.
can go and get green lip muscle. You can go get green lip muscle pills, which will help with your arthritis. And nobody's standing there at the pharmacy going, "Eat a kilo of green lip muscles, cunt. Be a man. Be a
Yeah.
fucking man. Don't take the fucking pill. Be a man."
Yeah.
You need
It's
the
a good point.
protein, and you need the fucking
Yeah.
beards, and you need a bit of barnacles in you, bro.
No,
No,
that's
don't
right.
take
Yeah,
this
I agree
shit.
100%. If that's what's going to
It's-
work
it's-
for some
Exactly.
people, then you give
Yeah.
them that option. And that's what I mean about the medical and the irradiated stuff as well. There's people out there that need that option, cancer patients that can't afford to have 1
But
millimicro
we're also talking about, but no,
gram
if
of
you're a
mold.
cancer patient and you're at that point, then hey, let's not give you anything to smoke. Because this is where we're starting to get into these sorts
Exactly.
of
They just need
debates.
fentanyl.
As
Yeah.
a doctor, you can't give them anything to smoke. So now you got to talk about a vaporizer. What
Yep.
vaporizer doses properly? So
But that's
you're
not
peeling
really-
back a different onion each time.
Yeah.
And this is where the doctors sit there on their high hill going,
Yeah.
"There's too many fucking onions. You're giving me too much to deal
I
with
get
because
what
I've got to
you're
go to
saying.
work tomorrow."
Yeah,
And
and
I
they
can
haven't
put
even
on
hit
with
that it's going to be
pharmacopoeia.
an entourage effect anyway. So They
Oh,
need
bro,
to get on
exactly.
board. Yeah.
Because it's
You
so
know?
new, they
Exactly.
need education.
A
I get you
smoke
now.
might
Yeah.
help them not feel like throwing up, but that's not the real medicine. The real medicine's in the feco. It's in the topicals around where the site is.
Well, the
It's,
real
you know,
medicine is cannabis.
oh,
Let's be straight. Like it's
amen.
Hey,
It's
there-
bathed
there's
in
there's
give and a
there's
take.
medicine in, you know, like, as much as I hate to admit it, the teenagers sitting around at the park all having a session. There's medicine in that because they're all
Yeah,
sitting
it's
there, they're
mental
bonding,
health.
they're talking, and their
Doing that
mental
saved my
health.
life. Doing that shit
Exactly,
as a
mate.
kid saved my life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So at the
Yep.
end of the day, we're all
Right.
cannabis, and we should all just wear that cannabis hat.
Yeah.
Mm.
However
Well,
it
look,
helps us, it
and
helps.
again, but you talk about sitting in that park. There's people I've known for 15, 20 years from that park.
Yeah.
That still, when we catch up, we have
Yeah.
a half soul meaning, you know, and it might be for 20 minutes. You know, it might be for 5 minutes. But there are people that you start to realize have been in your life for more than your dog was.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, shit, I've got this connection to somebody. And it might literally be to share a cone once every 2 months. You know, it might be to have a handshake and, you know, whatever. But these people grow with you. You know, you
And the
start
people
to
you
know their
connect with
kids.
too.
Yeah.
Like, and the only
Massively.
connection is through that avenue. You know, it goes back to what I was saying before with the different walks of life. Like, you know, you may meet lawyers, doctors, politicians, you may meet janitors,
Absolutely.
sailors, you may meet everybody. When would you ever talk to those people and get their experiences, like their point of view, their stories in life? You don't get to meet people like that and get to experience that part of society from those sorts of people anywhere else other than connecting through things like this, because you're not going to go to the pub and mingle over a drink with people like that. That's at least in my experience.
You've never been to a swingers club and walked around in your birthday suit, have you?
Not yet, mate, but there's
There's
always time
fucking
now.
judges, lawyers, there's fucking teachers, there's all sorts, mate. I fucking promise
Prime
you,
ministers.
mate. Exactly. You fucking even more than you could think in the cannabis community. But I hear what you're saying, you know, because some of us like to keep our clothes on.
Yes.
We don't
yeah.
want to go to those places to meet those
I
people.
like growing plants instead of other
I'd
places.
rather
mate. It's all
be
good.
hanging with cannabis growers than all those people. So I'm glad they're all there.
I just want to say we're not that exclusive, but we got
No,
special
we're not.
things going on.
No, this is the thing where we're trying to prevent the gatekeeping, people. No, no, I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
You guys all right if I take 2 seconds to just go grab a drink out the fridge and have a
Of
quick
course,
Okay.
mate. Keep yourself hydrated.
Awesome. Cheers, fam.
But yeah, mate, I agree. I see in the chat here someone's just written it's a bad system. It's all microwaved apart from a couple that aren't cheap. Even the extracts are soulless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only had extracts through medical not through from med part of
Oh,
things, and the
okay.
extracts and the vape pen.
I've had
And
a vape pen.
They're terrible. They were supposed to be extracts. They don't clarify what sort of extract it is, and they're just I don't know. I don't know. I can't wait
It
to.
all
yeah.
gives me headaches and makes me
Yes,
cough my
I've
guts out
actually.
nowadays. So I want to be supportive, but per product I can't anymore. And that was Tassie Botanics, you know, and I can't afford to keep trying,
Oh,
you
yeah, the
know,
money.
10 grams for $250 or whatever. No,
And
it's
not when
just
you can go to a mate of yours and go, hey, can I have a big
it's
sample
not
pack of all the
much.
things I want to try so I can see
Yeah.
what
Or,
works for me with what you've got?
hey,
You
yeah,
know?
what are you
Yeah,
doing? Let's swap some buds and see if yours
exactly
like
right.
appeals
And
to me a bit
support your
more than
local
mine
grower.
do. I
And
love it.
and if I get a headache from somebody's stuff around here, I'm going to say, hey, mate, I got a headache from that. What's up with
Yeah, you
that?
need to
And
back
Yeah,
off
then,
what'd
on
you
your
put in it?
meds. You need
yeah,
to
Yeah.
give it a
exactly right.
wash, man.
What were you
Yeah,
growing with? What? Yeah. What's
exactly.
causing this headache? And
And
they
it's
might
not to have a
actually
Yeah,
go,
go,
oh,
it's
well,
feedback. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I'm glad you told me. I'm going to
I know,
change that up
exactly.
this time. Or
Yep.
exactly.
I love
Well, that was a
feedback,
bit
even
harsh.
negative
Yeah, I
feedback.
actually
I
only
want
cured
it
it
back.
for 3 days before I sent it to you. So,
I've been
yeah.
there before I smoke it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight
Yeah.
off a dried bloody branch. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll come back to it. Yeah. I'll go pop it in a cupboard somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I
but it's
invested in medical for a long time
Legend.
because, to get myself that little card. And,
Oh, yeah, I do.
evidently it sort
Card.
of, it worked well in the end that I
Yeah.
did do that. But
Yes.
Um, there was never any substance to it. It mostly just sat in the bag in the back of the cupboard while I, consumed my legacy flower.
Yeah.
My path was unusual. I started with trash, then okay stuff. I've got stuff off the old, the old Tor browsers, everything like that. And then when we eventually got to a point where we couldn't really source it anymore, I was driving 3.5 hours just to get it from people that I trusted. That was just an ounce at a time. That's only one way. And then we decided, oh, we'll go through this medical stuff. When we started hearing it was fairly easy to get onto, and I couldn't. I got told, fuck right off. But my partner at the time, my ex-wife, she was she was on opioids and whatnot, so she got heaps thrown at her. And we tried a whole lot, but it's not. There's nothing in it. It doesn't. It feels like a sugar rush, a really
It's got no
intense
soul,
sugar
man.
rush,
Oh, you
and I
get
got
off.
headaches, and
Yeah.
it was. So I guess what I'm getting at is all of that was overseas import stuff. I'd really love to see a lot more Australian people, Australian companies stepping up and really trying to take, it's trying to take charge from these investors, we'll call them, because the people in Australia, to my understanding, from what I'm hearing and being told, is they're not investors per se. The good ones I'm being told about. So they're in it supposedly for the heart, the soul, and the love of the plant. Then they really need to get these foreign actors out of their industry. That's when we can start meeting in the middle a lot better, when they are stopped, when they're not getting as heavily regulated by the same enemy that we aren't even allowed access to medicine from.
Well, you look at, most of these facility head cultivators at all of these facilities here in Australia, and most of them are Canadian imports.
Mm.
Yeah.
We have the talent here in Australia.
Oh yeah.
So, this is again where medical needs to align with the legacy market, and they could keep that solely Australian.
Yeah.
Because I
And it
believe
would
I
be such a
truly.
bigger selling point for them. Sorry, Mud.
No, you're right. Sorry, I just get passionate sometimes. I truly believe that path of in the middle where we can meet is where the future lies for both legacy and medical. Like, I believe that's where the recreational lies, is getting it under our own control, because it's the big US dollars coming in, it's the big Canadian, it's the other side of things coming in, and we're losing charge of things on. It's not just the medical side of things either. For a long time, the legacy side of things was dominated by very poor quality stuff from foreign actors as well. So,
I think
we.
just when they bring in the decriminalisation, that's when things will change really in favour of legacy.
I don't think
And
we'll
it
ever see
won't be that
decrim.
different. It won't be like, we'll have full control or anything, but there'll be less, to me, there'll be more generated legacy, on a home front. So people will be able to do it, and then they'll start able to understand it, and then they'll start noticing the differences. And to me, that's where it'll actually happen, talking about it and then encouraging people to go black market because it's better for you is where I think we lose people because of the risk involved, and that's why government medical does take off and is taking off, because there's so many of the people that are too afraid to step out of the matrix. So we've got to work out,
Well,
like
that's
these.
yeah, I agree,
Yeah.
Tink. But what I'm trying to say, I think, is that there's no room in the framework at the moment here in Australia for our legacy growers to find a foot in the door, to find a voice in the
No, not at
industry.
all.
Whereas
No. Yeah.
they've managed to leave that little bit of framework there in New Zealand for them
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
I'm
they've
hearing
managed to maintain that little bit of legacy there, which
We can't
that-
even list. The average
Exactly.
grower could not even afford a single TGA listing. Do you have $1 million? Oh, you don't?
Yeah. I know, exactly. Yeah. That's what's been so inspiring about this conversation tonight, because, if Australia, that's why I said you're like ahead of us, and where they're
Yeah,
up
so
to.
I
And
think there's
yeah,
ways. I think there's ways, that we
yeah,
can all
yeah,
work together, and I think both
yeah,
sides of
can
cannabis
benefit.
can
Yeah,
benefit from each other. Like,
yeah,
medical
exactly.
has learnt so much, whether they're ever going to admit it or not,
Yeah,
from the legacy market.
absolutely.
And some do, I
Yeah,
guess, some do give credit where it's due, but a lot don't.
no,
And the legacy market can learn from the medical and the legal market, as much as
Yeah.
we don't like to admit it. So
Especially
And I
in the
think
science
this is
aspect.
about
exactly.
changing the culture, because it's always been this competitive, controlling
Yes.
culture, and that's
Well,
what we don't want. And we want a collaborative culture.
yeah, we
where
want
we
to change a
respect
culture
everyone.
around the medical, which
Exactly.
is the closed doors stuff, like
Yep.
you say. You know, they've
Yep.
got it closed doors and locked up, and they
Yep.
think it's all gate kept. And
Yep.
Well, hey, look, I mean, I love this conversation. Riddle me this. Do you think the same conversation happened when prohibition around alcohol came in? Do you think people sat around the table and went like, fuck, I can't believe they're
Different
going to drink
crowd.
this mainstream vodka? Do you think they went to,
Prohibition where?
you know,
I think that's
of
relevant.
just of alcohol in general? Because if we look
Okay.
at it now, where craft beer, craft beer entered the market, I don't know, was it 10, 15 years ago?
Mm.
Maybe just as I was turning 18, I remember seeing craft beers sort of hanging around, and you'd open one and you'd go, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And then you wouldn't touch it, and then you'd smell something else and go,
Yeah.
fuck that crazy stuff. I'll stick to my Heinies or my Corona or whatever it is. And then, I mean, in my experience, it could just be getting older. But I go into a supermarket now, and there's not much craft-wise that I can't touch that isn't a nice drop of beer if I want a
Yeah.
different beer.
That's exactly
So
right.
I don't know what's caught up, but all of a sudden Heineken's not crying, oh my god, I lost a fucking percentage to the guy down the road. The guy down the road's not crying, hey, I had to fight this big fucking guy just to get my can on the thing.
Yeah.
But somehow the alcohol industry, maybe it's because they're not being stifled with advertising restrictions, they're not being stifled with huge licensing programs. I mean, I go down to my local brewery and he says to me, oh, did you know I pay a tax on my ABV? I say, what do you mean? And he goes, well, you pay GST on goods. Well, I pay tax on alcohol.
Wow.
And he starts explaining to me how it works. And he goes, if I brew something that becomes 7%, I pay X amount of tax because I'm selling 7% worth of
Actually
alcohol.
heard this, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So the government's worked out a way to say, hey, bro, if your shit's such and such percent, give me this amount of money. And I don't care what the fuck you do with it after that. You can turn it
Yes.
into beer. You can turn it into whatever you want. But that's your business. Just pay me my tax.
Yeah. And that's what I was
So-
about to say. When you say about did this conversation happen around prohibition, I think 100% it did.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not here to challenge us and say we shouldn't be talking. But
No.
how did they move forward?
Yeah.
If we can look at real world examples of industries that have progressed, I know for
Well,
us,
that's exactly how they
example in
moved
New
forward
Zealand is wine.
because, yeah.
Yep.
But
Something
they
that
moved
didn't
forward
exist here.
because the prohibition didn't stop alcohol making, consumption, or anything else. It just forced it underground, which is all it's done to
Yeah.
cannabis.
Well,
Yeah.
there was also, I'd also argue alcohol wasn't competing with alcohol. So we are. So we're
But I
competing
think
with the
that's
legal
partly
industry of
Tony's
alcohol.
point of craft beer versus,
I understand, but I mean
Not so
lobbyists,
much
lobbying groups.
we're competing. We're not competing with alcohol. We're competing with pharmaceuticals. If
With
they want to
anything.
enter
What I mean
this
is,
market, that this is a medicine.
But it's made room for it, is what you're saying.
so
Yeah.
Yeah.
But most of us are talking about this because we're entering
hear
this
you, Mud.
medical argument. Yeah, this could
Okay.
just
Yeah.
be
fair enough.
Okay.
What
an
I'm
option
trying to say
to relax.
is in America right now, a large majority of the people lobbying against what they're going through right now and the issues is firstly alcohol, large alcohol lobbying groups, and funnily enough, large cannabis lobbying groups. And one of the largest cannabis lobbying group, they are personally funded by the President of the United States of America.
Yeah, again, because the framework wasn't put in place properly.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is it's hard to use that, say that we can use them as an example
Oh, because it's already a rigged system.
if they weren't competing against them. They weren't competing against politicians that were in the pocket of themselves. The competition was what? We're facing a lot more of an uphill battle with the people. We can't use framework for people that have already established themselves to not want the cannabis industry to establish itself in a recreational capacity to compete with them. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
I feel you. I think, but also we're not so much trying to literally use the framework as it is use it as a guidance of
Correct.
like Trent was saying earlier, the wheels are going to keep moving.
Yeah.
You know, the wheels are going to keep moving. So if we want to get ahead of the curve, if we want to position ourselves to be somebody that's of use for our community in the future, then we've got to start positioning ourselves to be ahead of that curve. Where do you want this wave to land? You know, where do you want to be catching what's falling out of the sky when it's coming down? Because that's where
Exactly.
we want to be.
That's
You know,
exactly
we
what
want
I'm
to be
trying to get
ready
at.
to reap these
Everyone
situations. And
should
the
be in
best
the
thing we can do
position.
is have these conversations.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It is the best thing we can do, having these conversations
Well, the
surrounding
voice is the first part. Having a voice is that's why the voice is that's why censorship is such a big deal. That's why taking away people's right to speak and ability to speak is so important to control groups. You know what I mean? So the fact that we're able to just sit here and we're able to talk to people around these regions and across the water and whatnot, yeah, this is a very good start. And I think we have a very big tool in our belt that the alcohol industry didn't face, and that's the internet. That's the ability to network all over the internet and everything like that. So we're very lucky with that.
Yeah, agreed.
No, I think
Agreed.
that's a massive point. That's a massive point. And
Mm.
I think the other side of alcohol is, as we all know, and I think the irony between all of this is that, alcohol kills. Alcohol robs our communities. It robs our families. It robs our
Number one.
experiences. It robs
Yeah.
our body.
Yeah.
And we're here talking about harm reduction.
Yeah.
How do you have alcohol in a harm reduction setting? How do you
Well,
harm
you can't.
reduce alcohol?
How is alcohol made? What is alcohol?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
So, you know what I mean? Like, we're sitting fighting this ironic war that we all
Mhm.
know the juxtaposition we're in, but we have to just lean into it. You
Yeah.
know, the people that are in charge of what we're doing are sitting and cracking a beer at the end of the week because they're
Well,
stressed out.
but what's the active
Yeah.
ingredient in that beer?
Yeah.
Ethanol.
But again, we're fighting a war of
Yeah,
conditioning.
I hear that. Yeah, but that's
yeah, and
what
that's
I'm
sort of
saying.
what I was trying to say before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of have an uphill battle here because the influence of
Mm.
everything else is already there, and we've already been established as sort of gutter trash druggies, and since 1960 and the war on drugs with the world, paying third world governments to completely outlaw and ban cannabis, and
And this
I'm
is
okay
why we need
if
to
they
keep
want
doing
to crack
things
their
that Tony's
can.
doing.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
want to roll a joint at the end of my week, my hard-earned week, the same as they want to crack a can. I want to
Well, everyone
comfortably
should have the
roll a
right to
joint.
do that, but this is
Yeah.
why we
Exactly.
need to do things exactly like Tony's doing over there and putting on these,
Exactly.
culturally based festivals that
Yeah.
show to the public and put on a big, good
Mm.
public-facing image of what the cannabis community is.
100%.
And what I
Build a
love
positive image.
too is that it's not, from my understanding, it's not stemming from a political perspective. Your gatherings, it's stemming from wanting to connect with community. The cannabis
100%.
community type
Yeah,
thing.
that
Well, I find that that's been a little bit different in Australia. Correct me if I'm wrong,
I
because it's
agree.
only my opinion and perspective. But most of the gatherings here, maybe not Nimbin, but most of the gatherings of late have been political. And I haven't wanted to be a part of it because I get like really cranky around political shit
That's a
because
very
it's
good
so
point, Tim.
rigged. And to hear, and us having conversations around something outside of that, which is for fun,
well,
for
that's in our
gathering,
comments
for
now is about the
yeah.
protests. Is there any protests? Sorry, Tink. So,
Oh,
we've got the 420 rallies and things like that,
yeah,
where it's
absolutely
legalized
there are.
cannabis party and
Yeah,
all of that. But yeah, like you say, they're not quite the image,
it's
I don't
different
think, that we're
intention.
trying to
Yeah,
portray. Well, it's
yeah,
not.
No,
That to
that's
me isn't
exactly.
what a cannabis user is. We're not out there screaming
no,
up and down in the streets and
no.
So
That's a
what we
Yeah.
did
certain
with
type of person.
Harvest
That's
Festival.
not me. Yeah,
So
yeah.
Harvest Festival for us in New Zealand was an
it sounds
opportunity. We
fabulous.
have normal. Well, we have normal that runs J Day.
Yeah,
Normal have been around since day dot. They've been our they've been our legacy protesters. We wouldn't be here without them.
yep,
But the reality is, in our country, they decided to change our J Day to December because of our weather issues.
right.
We're all aware that global warming's a thing. This has forced the organisers to decide that December was a more reliable time of year for them. Now that's fine. That's fine. But I saw as an opportunist that day in May was opened up. Now that day in May for us is the start of autumn. It's the last day of summer.
Ooh,
But for the majority of people on the Northern Hemisphere, for everybody on the Northern Hemisphere, that's spring. So
right.
that's their J Day.
Yeah.
So we would rather celebrate that same Saturday with the rest of the world than I would wait till we have good weather. So
Yeah.
again, we decided our form of protest, J Day, is outside. Our J Day is smoke lots of joints and listen to lots of reggae, and it's great. You
Ooh, I
know,
like
I've
that.
participated in many J but our harvest festival was to try and change it up a little bit and provide a community space that was our form of protest. So the
Yep.
protest was you rock up with your police guys and your batons, and you're going to walk in quite disappointed because
Yeah.
you're not going to get a bunch of hippies smoking cannabis. There
Yeah.
might be somebody consuming somewhere, but you're going to have to ruffle a few feathers to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
So you know, it's turning what a protest is upside down and turning it
Yep.
into an everyday event.
Yeah.
Because once it's an everyday normalized event, which granted, we're only once a year, but once this can become once a month, once a week, you know, every day like we smoke in our form of protest, then you start to get a little bit more traction. So
Yeah.
thankful for the foot in the door, but I
Yeah.
don't want to walk around with big joints. Somebody else can do that in December.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, until then, you know, we'd like to shape it a slightly different way.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah.
And I'd also like to, touch on that as well, where we're talking about how a lot of these other events and rallies and whatnot, and all these are all political focus, and it sort of changes the vibe a little bit over here. That's a very good point, because how are we supposed to expect somebody a random person that has never even copped a gram off off legacy, never anything like that, but has now been prescribed later in life and trying to break the stigma within themselves. Imagine someone like that that's walking past, and there's a lovely festival like like what goes on in New Zealand, and it's all happy and vibey, and there's families in there, and suddenly you know
Yeah.
this that 70-year-old man that's drank his whole life and only just started consuming, he can go, hey, that's a vibe, that I can
Yeah.
sit down at that bar and smoke a joint instead of having a drink, and those people can have a yarn with me.
Yeah.
And instead they probably won't feel very open to that if we keep going, no, you should be illegal, you shouldn't have access. Well, that person probably doesn't know anybody from the legacy side, and they may even meet people, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, well
But we
said.
can't give up what we are either in saying that.
No,
Well,
it's just
I
about,
mean, it's funny because you can always be jealous of what you don't have, eh? And as somebody looking over the ditch, I've always been really jealous of the political conversations going on around cannabis for you Australians. I've always thought it's great that the Australian Legalised Cannabis Party has done as well as they've done. I've always thought it's great that ACT was willing to decriminalise drugs and have
yeah.
these sorts of conversations and push it first. I was always grateful that you guys were a bit of the guinea pig for us that we could look to. Now, whether they did or not, I don't know. I'm not holding their hands. I can't guide, these beer drinking, whoever they are, officials that are in charge of our medical cannabis, because they're not, and I mean that more as in they're not our legacy. They're not our, responsible people we trust from where we're sitting. But I've always been a little bit jealous of that. So it's interesting that you guys feel that the combination of politics and cannabis has muddied the waters and caused even more issues with the access to medical. Because over here we really struggle to get any politicians to even talk about it. I'm not sure if you're
Oh,
aware. We had
no.
our referendum where
Yeah.
even our prime minister, all she had to do was say she was into it, and we would have passed. And she chose
Oh,
not to.
that's just my
So
personal opinion of politics. I think might have clouded that because I think there has been huge strives. We only just didn't get it passed for decriminalisation at the last. It's just my personal problem with politics. It's not something that is pleasing to me. I think as a whole we have come huge strides. Huge.
mm,
Exactly how you perceive it to be. Yeah, I think if the Prime Minister had have said yes, I think it would have been passed.
I don't think
Absolutely.
it's the politicians that allowed this talk to take place, though. This is 100% on the people. This has got no politician has really given a platform to it unless absolutely forced to. Yeah, it's
That's
Well,
got
there
exactly
was
nothing.
a
right, mate.
couple in the
It
lower
was,
houses, though.
yeah,
No,
but
yeah,
they've
yeah,
been
I'd agree with
forced
that.
to. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, but
I mean,
majority have been
but
forced into it by
Yeah.
the people. Correct.
but if I'm not mistaken, doesn't the Prime Minister come from the lower houses?
See, this is where I get lost because I really don't pay enough attention to be able to have a decent discussion about it. I'd
Yeah,
have to
okay.
pay attention, and then I'd be in a world of cranky because I get really shitty.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of I believe the leaders do come from
I
these.
am
It's
not.
it's a very weird setup. It's
Yeah.
I don't like politicians, so I like to know the enemy.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. I think they're all full of shit.
I agree. I agree.
But I think like
Hey.
someone like the Legalized Cannabis Party came about to fill a niche market.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
they're
Yeah.
also doing. I like what they're doing as well. However, I don't think that can go anywhere purely because to do something they need to be in some form of power. They would be better off as a lobbying group. They're never going to get in power because their only policy is to legalize cannabis and nothing else. If people want to support some form of real sort of, I don't know, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth here. Look, the Libertarian Party has a lot more policy and a lot more thought into this sort of thing. And I don't like any politicians, but if you're going to be wanting to support parties that can actually make change, maybe try not focus it as maybe make it less of a token vote and more of an actual worthwhile vote.
I think what we have to recognise is that what Legalised Cannabis Party taught us is that there is a time and a place to put your stick in the ground,
Mm.
you know, and
Pick your
by
fights,
putting
yeah.
Legalised Cannabis Party on as a party, they've realised that every single election since the 90s, whenever they were conceived, has had that written on it. So every single voting adult has had to look at those words,
Yeah,
regardless of
yeah,
who
that's
they
a
vote
Good
for.
point.
It's been
Yeah.
written on that page,
conversation.
you know,
Yeah,
and
agreed.
you know,
That's
Tim's
what I
done
mean.
it
I
with
like what they're
Blazing
doing.
Trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he's started blazing his trail. Rue, you're doing it here with the wild community.
Mm.
You know, we're just getting out here and we're starting to put our you know, we're opening our shop doors and putting our foot in the fucking, you know, into
Yeah,
the
we're
street
just
and saying
stamping
we're
our
willing to
flag
be a
into the
part of this.
ground and saying, "Hey, I'm here. This is who I am, and I'm willing to stand
That's
up."
right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And it might be time for them to evolve. Absolutely. There might be better people out there playing the game, you know, whether it's the Greens, the Libertarians, whoever it is. But hey, these guys taught us something. So, you know, take that lesson. But like you say, if you want to get into politics, do a bit of research though, because it's well worth it. It's well worth seeing where these guys step, but also where they came from. You know, what were they saying last? What were they saying last election? Because if they're going to be saying the opposite that election, and then something that pleases us this one, what are you going to say next time? Is that who you want? You know, repeating things for you. So, and that's why I stay out of politics because I don't.
I try to
have
avoid
the
staying
time.
out of politics.
No.
I get
I
very
have to.
heated and passionate about it.
Mm.
And if politicians anything like the sportsmen I fucking support, they do the opposite to what I fucking say anyway. So who fucking knows, you know?
And it's
If I support the Warriors for a year, guys, fucking hell, I dare you.
The wars.
I fucking dare you, boys. I'll buy you all a hat if it means you're going to support them for a year.
Bunnies, mate. Bunnies back in the day.
Hat?
The
I do
buddies,
like
oh
hats.
mate, fuck, that would have been trouble. Fuck yes, that would have been a tough year last year.
You and
I
my middle
haven't
child
supported
would
for
get
a
along
while.
real well, mate.
I was back when the
We were
Burgess
bunny
brothers
boys.
were still running the show, mate. So
Oh mate, you're back in the heyday. That's back when New
Yeah.
South Wales might have won a fucking.
oh fuck off! Don't get me
Origin.
started, mate. Yeah, back when we might have.
When
Yeah,
are we going
mate,
to start
fuck.
this year?
Oh, turn it up a bit, mate. Turn it up.
I live in Queensland
Oh,
now, so
don't
I
you
cop
worry, boys.
nothing but that. I chuck me blue jersey on, and oh, mate, it's constant. It's constant on Origin.
You're brave
Mate,
wearing that
Reds
down
all
the street
day,
if you
Reds
live
all
up
Oh,
there,
day.
mate.
mate, they can come get it. Fucking.
Reds all day. I'll wear your Queensland shirt with pride, mate. Don't you worry. Oh, go the Reds.
Most of them are from New South Wales anyway. I'm not having any of this
Most of
first
who?
game
Most of the
bullshit.
Reds.
Yeah, it's where your first game's played, not where you're born. So that's what I'm sticking to, mate.
No, isn't it? No, it's not your. Well, yeah,
Well, then, yeah, well, that's
First
why it's
Tuesday, yeah.
mostly,
Childhood
you know,
club.
yeah, Kiwis and Maldies and Islanders, isn't it? You know, because
Well, look, if we want to talk about some
they all
crazy
came
New
over
South
here and
Wales,
then played their first game somewhere, and that's it.
well, look, I tell you what, I've been bloody inspired by a bunch of people. So we want to talk about community, and this is again something I feel like we could really learn a lot from, and it's helped inspire me. But you guys might have heard of the hardcore Harrys. And these are people that they just do crazy shit.
Yeah,
These
yeah.
hardcore Harrys, like the Wizard of Run, who's just run from the top of Australia down to the bottom,
Yeah.
and they do a thing called King of the Hill, which is over in Aussie. Over in Melbourne. Pyrong, something like that. I probably got it wrong, but these sorts of challenges, they challenge us to just push ourselves, and get out of our comfort zone and do something different. And that's really inspired me to keep doing what we're doing here, in a different sort of way. And, like getting these guys outside to do these big walks, it's really about, trying to blaze a trail, trying to show people that, hey, we're not this cookie cutter stereotype, Beavis and Butthead, dude, where's my car? We actually just get out, fucking do it, and if it means figuring out how to fucking sort out politics, we'll figure it out. If it means figuring out how we, move next to sport, we'll figure it out.
Oh, look, if that's where I have to go next, I'll work it out. Yep.
That's right, man. If it's how we can get this legacy market ahead of everybody else at some point, we'll figure it out.
Yep. 100%. I'm with you on that.
Exactly right. Yep, I love it.
Like I said that to someone today too. I'm learning every day, and every day I'm learning other ways and new ways to fight these fights, and we'll keep pushing. We're never giving up.
Choose to be a hardcore Harry about it. Don't just do a little bit, one end of the country to the fucking other. Like, don't just get up and fucking half-ass it. Commit yourself.
100%.
Crack the fucking nut.
We'll go from one end of the country and we'll go across the ditch as well, mate. Like,
that's right, mate. Please do. Please do. But this is what we're going to push. I know there's people doing all
collaborations,
sorts of,
cultural projects.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just community-based things. Whether it be art, whether it be exercise. We all know that for a lot of us, there's different ways that we express ourselves, especially after we've medicated. If we want to use that term. But
a lot
once
of
you
hobbies.
partake in it, what's your choice? And find it and embrace it, because I can promise you there's 10 other people that love doing the same thing.
Yeah.
We've called ourselves the Sofa King Running Club because we're sofa kings. We sit on the sofa. That's what we do. But we like to get out and run as well.
Yeah.
So blaze your green, put your shoes on and go for a run.
Yep.
Yeah. Like you look at, I don't know if any of you are aware of 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. Their whole ethos is around consuming cannabis, you know what I mean? So like that is a common focus of their dojos, of their training system, is the consumption. So you can make very different sorts of communities and relationships with this plant. It's interesting.
A lot of pro athletes are very pro cannabis.
Oh yeah, especially now. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just
The ones that are allowed to be, yeah.
I'm just a simple tree hugger.
But I've found, there's no point in slamming a bong and trying to run up the hill. The best thing you can do is have a bong and then stretch and then go up the hill. Give yourself 10 minutes to breathe some oxygen first.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ritual in consumption as well, I find. A lot of positive ritual. Like, so for example, someone can't have a joint at home because they have kids and they have a wife and it smells a lot and they're in an apartment or so and so. Oh, honey, I'm just going to go take the dogs for a walk. Oh, it's your 4th time today. Yeah, it is, isn't it? So they go and have a joint, the dogs get a walk, and somebody gets their fresh air and things like that. It'd be nice for them to be able to sit at home and do it, but there are rituals associated with it that a lot of people really, really spiritually enjoy and get benefit from.
100% agree with that too.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But that's just recognizing, like we say, the connection. So, we've got to not belittle these situations. We're taught so much to hide what we're doing. And I remember that the amount of times, and I'm the same. My partner doesn't like the smell. She doesn't like the taste. Just definitely doesn't partake. And I tell you what, my 2-year-old doesn't either. The same way he doesn't drink beer, or he doesn't, do anything else.
Same way,
doing. But you've got to get creative. You know, you've got to find ways to still fit those things in, if they're what you want to prioritize. But you know, for most of us, let's agree that you get out and run and chase your kids, and you're probably not going to need as many cones before you go to bed to sleep as well.
Very well.
You know,
Yep.
but be honest to ourselves about it. You know, that run tonight for me, I literally had to sit there and go, do I want to go and buy a box of beers so I can be myself? Or do I want to go and have a run so I can be somebody better in a few days?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was
You
a
know,
conscious
and
decision that you made to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
yeah,
if
oh, don't get me wrong, I've peeled back 3 beers. I found a fucking bag in the garage. I'm safe. But, you know, we're not all saints. It's just you've got to start making these better choices and being kind to yourself about how far you push it. You know, because the choice was to go for the run. Not having the beers, do they really fucking matter today? Nah, because I went for the fucking run.
Yeah, and putting a
Next week,
positive
the
slant
beers
on
aren't going
doing
to be in the
something that's
garage.
healthy. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
And
next week I
some
won't have
people-
that option.
Yeah.
some people need the smoke to get the motivation. Some people have that crippling anxiety. You know, if I go out of this yard, someone's going to look at me wrong. Something's going to go wrong, and then or they smoke that joint, and suddenly that run's accessible. You know, or you know they have a billion, and suddenly that barbecue down at the park's accessible to them. So
Yeah,
Well,
that's 100% too.
well,
Like
that's big.
Tony said last time, you know, cannabis brings us all together as well. You know, and
Yeah.
you know, you might go out and have a billy or have a joint or something like that, but then you're going to come home and you might spend time with your kids, and that
Yeah.
hour that you spend with your kid after consuming is probably going to be way more in depth and way
Yeah.
more, you know, than it
Quality.
was quality
Yeah.
time than it was
Exactly.
without that consumption.
Yeah.
well, come
So-
home from the pub and come home from a couple of billies and see how you interact with your
Yeah.
kids better. I mean, I'm sure
Exactly.
there's humans out there. I can't speak for everybody that can do fine either way, but you know, for heavy consumers, like for myself, for example, I know for a fact if I were to consume alcohol again, I would be a heavy consumer of alcohol and cannabis. I would much rather just be a heavier consumer of cannabis when I interact with people.
Yeah.
Right, who do you want to come home, Evil Knievel or Bob Marley? You know,
Yeah,
like
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sure my son likes me after a few beers when I'm trying to jump everything on his fucking BMX. But you know, like you
Yeah,
say,
but then maybe not a few beers later when he doesn't understand what the fuck you're talking about.
And also, that's different people
no,
too. You
you're
handle it.
right. Oh, you're right. You're right. When Dad's got fucking a scab down the side of his face because he grazed his face next to the fucking basketball hoop, you know, failing on the jump, it's a whole different story. You know, otherwise you're out there picking plums and talking about plants and whatever else is, you know,
But it's
it's a
balance,
different
isn't it?
sort of grazing your face. You know, absolutely. Well, no, I mean it's as wholesome as you want it to be, and
Yeah.
Correct.
you know, I grew up not with a dad that was evil Knievel, but in that environment, and all it did was normalize that to me. So we can joke about it, but I didn't grow up in an environment with a dad that came home stoned, so I can't balance that and tell you what I would have preferred. But I do my best to make sure that, like you say, for your kids, you're as attentive as possible. You know,
Well, I
I don't
grew
want
up
to
in
be
an
I don't want to
environment
be
where
dad
both were
that's
pretty
fucking
normal.
nodding off.
Mm.
Well, I just don't want to be the dad that's nodding off because I had 3 big dabs and this shit's fucking strong. You know, like, so
Oh
we can
yeah,
go
but
both
that's a
ways.
conscious choice you can make. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You only needed half.
And I
one.
guess you're right. Yeah, that's a conscious
you
choice you can make with alcohol too.
Yeah.
And that's with
Yeah.
anything. My father was an opioid addict, prescription opioid addict. He was sleeping with his doctor, and she was giving him whatever he asked for. So, like, you know, you can you can abuse anything and need to be sensible with anything. You know. So I used to get to sit and watch that freak of nature nod off. So there's all sorts of chemicals that do all sorts. It's all about us
I
being
know,
sensible.
yeah, as a parent myself, definitely came to the conclusion that I was better as a cannabis user than I was as an alcohol user. You know, you try everything, but my intentions were always to use it to help the situation, you know, but every good friend turns into a horrid enemy eventually when it comes to substances and overuse of substances, you know, and at some
But
point
that's even food.
health needs a
That's even
break.
food, Tink.
Yeah.
You know, you put us in a circumstance where food is now currently, as it probably rightfully should be, the most valuable thing, and there is now a shortage of it. These people that are your friends may suddenly not be your friends. I think that may just be
Yeah.
human nature, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Mm.
And sadly, at the end of the day, we're really just trying to create those chemicals in our brain that makes us feel good. We just want to be happy. We want to feel okay, you know. But there are healthier ways to do it and more balanced ways to do it, that don't have so many bad side effects to it.
It's funny because what you're touching on there, Tank, is just that for a lot of us, we feel normal.
Mm.
This
Mm.
makes us feel
Right, I
normal.
don't.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't have the answers. I'm not a
And
doctor,
cannabinoid
but I know it
system.
makes me feel normal. Now, I know that when I drink, I feel an element of normal for a period of time. So when we go out
Well,
there and
that's
look
your
at the
inhibitions
community,
being overridden by the ethanol, isn't it?
Yeah, that means you're
Whereas
lacking something to
absolutely. But
feel
if,
that
but if
your cannabis
those,
consumption is feeding your endocannabinoid system. You don't have an
Yeah,
ethanol
that's
system.
right. But if
yeah,
you have this, if you talk about these
You're
windows of
feeding the body,
normality,
not
I
poisoning it.
can feel a lot more
yeah,
normal smoking
yeah,
cannabis. So it's giving people an opportunity to understand quite where they're at with all of this
yeah,
stuff and how they
exactly.
might have felt. Because I
Yeah,
also know, as somebody who's just taken up running, there's lots of feelings in my legs and hips that I don't understand,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that I have
muscles
never
you
felt
use to
before, and
feel.
that feel all sorts of
Yeah,
weird.
yeah,
And I watch lots of videos of people doing all sorts of things that I think they look like contortionists right now.
yeah,
So just as people with a lot of experience, it's really easy for us to glaze over the bigger parts that it becomes for other people to take that step.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
what
That's
they might
ego,
go
isn't
through
it?
to find that. Yeah,
We've got
absolutely.
to leave our ego at the door, because we're always forever learning in some area.
Yeah.
We are the babies. Yeah. Yep. Mm.
No, but it is a good point you made, Rue. Whereas when we consume cannabis, it's reacting with our endocannabinoid system. It's reacting positively with an actual direct interaction with something within our body. However, when
With
you use
receivers.
alcohol, when you're consuming alcohol, you're poisoning yourself, and the reaction is your body's reaction to the poison, not to the actual. It's not receiving the chemical and making connections. It's
Correct.
fighting.
And then you have to detox. So for every substance that we take that isn't part of our endocannabinoid
Never
system,
thought about that.
we have to then detox from.
It's very
So
wise.
yeah, yeah, we're putting the body through a lot.
We're tough creatures, man. We can. Woof.
We are tough. That's exactly right. But we could be a bit kinder to ourselves on a daily
And each other too.
basis.
On
And
each other
maybe
too, yeah,
I
well
can't
said, mate.
run, but I could definitely walk a lot more. And fresh air is, one of the most beautiful things and most healthiest things that we
Fresh
can.
air,
Yeah,
exercise, nature, and laughter.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't call it
agreed.
exercise.
All right, sorry guys. I'm just while we get because we're getting on a bit here now, and I think
Yeah,
we've lost Timmy. He's had to go to bed because he said he had an early flight in the
yeah,
morning.
did.
So I think he'll be off on an aeroplane in about 6 hours.
Mm.
But I would like to just ask some more questions before we wrap it up. Like just a couple more discussion points. Like one is how do we ensure that the culture stays inclusive of everybody going forward?
Keep having these conversations. Keep
Yep.
bringing our respect to the table for someone else's opinion, and keep recognizing that we've all got something to learn. That's my thought. Yeah,
Communication and open-mindedness. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly what Tink said.
yeah.
And passion. Passion.
Yep, got lots of that.
We got to stay
Yeah,
passionate.
I think that if we want to find something that's common and I guess ever measurable is quality of life, and we've got to just keep reminding each other that hey, if we're sitting at this table, is it giving you a better quality of life?
Yeah,
And that's it,
Yep.
and that's to be said for almost anything we do. If
Beautifully said,
I
mate.
want to put on these running shoes and it's going to bung my hips, it's not going to be a good quality of life.
yeah,
So maybe I should get into swimming. But the reality is, it doesn't mean you give up exercise. It doesn't mean you give up finding what's right for you. So, I just want to sit at the table and let people say, hey, look, this is really adding to what I do.
mm,
But I want people to be just as real to say, hey, look, this is not, and I need help.
yeah,
And we can help
yeah.
you.
Well
Maybe
said.
not me, because I'm not a
Like that.
doctor, but just
Yeah,
that's what's real about this community is we've got
That's
to
it.
not have a one size fits all. Not
Everybody
everybody has
deserves
to
a
follow
seat at the
me.
table.
yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
how can we improve your quality of life? Because it might be that you don't do it, but it might be that it's good for you and your nana.
Yeah, maybe that you do less or you do something different. Yeah.
Something
That's right.
different. Yeah. Say you have
Yeah.
lung
That's right.
problems,
That's
yet
right.
it takes away the
Yeah.
pain of the lungs.
Yeah.
Well, Tink can help you there, you know?
Yeah, start looking at balms and
Yeah,
tinctures, or yeah,
exactly.
exactly, or
Yeah.
Go for a
edibles,
fucking
or
run and don't smoke a joint every K.
I can't run. I will go for a walk.
Because you get to the point where you're just like, this is fucking dumb. Why am I
Yeah.
huffing fucking 8 cones
Yeah.
right now? This is dumb. You know? It's,
yeah,
there's
and it
only
doesn't
so
benefit me any more than just having one or
That's right.
two.
That's
Yeah,
right. And if you're going to
Yeah.
be dumb, you got to be
My
tough.
as a
my
heavy
Tough.
mental health.
consumer.
Yeah, you're actually like undoing all the hard work that you're doing for your mental health. You
Negative.
know?
Where's my negative
Yeah,
gain?
and the
Yeah,
physical.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So,
So where's my quality
yeah.
of life?
Yeah.
And where's it coming from? And then at the end of the day, that might mean that you reduce your consumption. I don't know.
Yeah.
it might indeed.
Yeah.
But there might be the day that you sprain your ankle and you double down. And you fucking spend all day huffing that cunt.
And you go, oh yeah, or you go, who's got the strongest edibles?
And
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
fucking great. Oh, mate. And you're so grateful. You're so grateful you never got off that horse.
Isn't it great we can do that though? Isn't it great that we can cut back
Yeah.
if we need to, and we can really minimize our doses to get the best out of our life. But if we have an injury or we have a need, we can go back up and not have an issue. Imagine trying to do that with opioids. Imagine getting yourself down on opioids to the point where you're just managing your pain, and then suddenly you have a massive injury and you're back on big doses. Like that's going to be an experience getting back down again. At least with our plant, we can pick and choose dosages with very minimal effect. So with very so it affects our quality of life. Yeah, it's a good point.
Massive.
Very good. Like it, guys. Right. Another one. How do we avoid some of the mistakes repeating that we're seeing overseas here? How do we avoid that, but in our own communities in Australia and New Zealand?
Yeah, it's hard, without identifying mistakes as such, I don't know. It's, I am a little bit tunnel vision on what we've got going on here.
Yeah.
But I think, especially for us here, it's just not getting too big. It's not pushing the boundaries too much and letting this house of cards fall. The biggest thing, and that's kind of what we're watching overseas. We don't want people destroying plant matter because, there's too much of it. We don't want people putting out sub-quality product because that's what fits the parameters. So we just want to make sure that we don't fall into this category where, we kind of pigeonhole ourselves to this one thing, and hopefully cross our fingers, guys, but the stuff like chill division, getting product that's grown here that's not irradiated into a package and onto the shelves is the beginning of all of that. It's the beginning of those little steps forward that stop us from getting caught up in that big picture, because the big picture's already here. But how do we let that blend into the background while we put something else on the shelf?
Yeah.
So I think for us, that's where we're at. Legacy's legacy. They're going to do what the fuck they want to do. They'll put their shit on Instagram and they'll be like peacocks. But how do we stop the guys that have got a little, they've actually got control over what's happening? Not just fucking it up, but giving us something good at the end of it.
Yeah.
Making people accountable. I suppose it's a hard one, isn't it? The true people that they don't get caught in the greed or the that's a hard one. It really comes down to the individual, and I have hope for the
Well, I just think there's a lot we could learn from what Canada and America are going through.
Yep. Yeah, they give us and they take us away.
Yeah, so maybe when they give us, before they take us away, we can like we're talking about, have the framework there ready to push to them.
And have the ball in our court when it comes around. Make sure
when
we
it comes
learn from
around.
them. Yep.
Exactly, and make sure we're standing there ready with our flags already in the ground.
And
saying,
combined.
We're here.
We're not fighting each other. When they come to us, we're a combined, unified front.
No, we're all waving the same flag, which is all the cannabis flag.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't. They look at us all lined up and they can't differentiate. They can't go, oh, they're from the WRC, they're from here, they're from such and such room. They're from here. No, they're all from cannabis, and they're all facing towards us, and
Yeah.
we're going to have to answer for this.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, exactly.
It's really easy. We've got different coloured stars, and the Aussies have got an extra one. I know they think we all look the same. But honestly, it's just very similar. Very similar.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. We are flying the same flag.
No,
you
I
know,
meant
and
under the we
it's
mean
not
under the
just-
banner of cannabis. Yeah.
Yeah, we mean the leaf. We all love.
We all shine.
I know you're just being a
Shine
shit stirrer.
Sorry, guys. We're a bit dry over here in our rainforest island. With our humour.
A bit dry in your moist climate. Jesus.
No, you're right. We've got to fly the same flag. It's got to
Yeah.
it's got to be a Kiwi with the laser eyes, and you guys can have the same.
I'm actually okay with that. Those are dope little birds, bro. No, I want the parrot. Oh, what's your parrot called? Your little ground parrot?
The Kia.
Oh,
The
Or
Kia,
Tucker.
little bastard that picks all the
The Kia.
rubbers out of everything.
He's had a
Yeah.
flightless,
Yeah,
an endangered
yeah,
flightless
yeah.
parrot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate. Kia. No, Kia can fly. They can fly.
Yeah.
The
No,
Kaka are the flightless.
You have a
Kaka,
species of
flightless.
parrot. Yeah. What was that one?
It's Kaka. The Kaka.
Okay. Okay.
Kaka,
What
yeah.
is that? A parrot?
Sounds like a poo. Kaka.
Yeah, it
But
does,
it's a poo. It's not. It's a slightly brown parrot that sits on the floor, kind of like a poo.
Yeah, that's
but it's
exactly what I'm thinking. They're cool little guys. I love those little things.
No, they're wonderful. They're wonderful.
So good.
Yeah. We're not known for getting too high in the air. That's fantastic. Come over and visit them, man. Come over and visit them.
Oh, it's on my
Got to go
list.
visit Milford Sound.
Mate,
It's fantastic.
when I'm coming
mate.
over to sit down at this Harvest Cup, we're bringing the crew.
please.
Don't you worry, all right?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
all
bring the
coming.
buckets.
I'll jump under a wing.
No, the whole WRC, we're going to make sure we're
Yeah.
there. We've already got a
Yeah.
couple from the community that have already said they want to come to and investigate some of these events that you put on, mate. So we'll be there with
Well,
bells
look,
on.
I'll apologise to Timmy seeing as he's not here. I've got a calendar waiting for him, and
Hmm.
I just haven't sorted out. I sent one to him and it disappeared, so I've got to send him another one. But what we're trying to do is off the back of this, and I'd love you guys to take up the same thing as we do a September till September calendar, because when you put your seeds in the ground, it's in September. So the last thing you want to do is be changing calendars, for the new year.
We might have
but
to do one.
we've been able to
It'll
do
be
is,
similar, but
Well, the 19th of January, we chose, the shortest day of the year to be a really good, closest we could on a Friday, to be a really good time to celebrate this sort of thing. So that gives everybody a chance to harvest at the
Cool.
beginning of May, dry
Yeah.
their shit to get it to us, to hopefully give us enough of a
get dry and cure.
buffer to
Yeah.
be able to raise children while we still test everything, and then give everybody a platform to celebrate, on that long shortest day. On that winter equinox. But we want to involve the community. So the idea is just to keep building on it, is to start with us as judges, and then, in the next year or two, have a way to have the community involved where they get to have their own say.
Nice.
It's to take it out of our hands and give it back to everybody else so that they can actually,
Yeah, once you get it moving properly, then you have got something to hand back to them, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's something I'd like to I can take on board, and I can look at
Yeah.
getting that rolling for us for the WRC as well, definitely.
Sounds great.
So anyone that just heard that, reach out to us if you're interested in things like that. So let us know your opinions, thoughts, everything like that. We usually we're against the hype word and hype like things like that, but let's get people knowing about the plans here and the plans and of what everybody here wants to do, and that things are going to move forward in the future, and the events that have taken place here are in the past, and they no longer fit the best interest of a lot of the people here in these communities here. So
That's what you said.
so get the word out, guys. We're gonna make some.
Yeah, and there's
we're gonna
been
make
lots
some-
of exactly, mate. Sorry, mate. There's been lots of
Maybe.
discussion in and amongst us, our admin team and in our community about making a festival happen over here.
Yeah.
And we're going to take some lead from you, Tony, and we're going to make it
Right.
happen. So
Yeah.
Please. I mean, the reality is again, like I said, we've got this nod to normal with J Day and them choosing to change it. But the reality is they held our harvest. They held our cannabis cups.
Yeah.
2009. I was at a cannabis cup run by Normal. The only reason we took the opportunity to do it ourselves is because nobody else was doing it. It's a silent, wasted space, and you guys might feel the same. There might be something going on in Nimbin. There might be something going on in other places, but this gives you guys an opportunity to whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
where we're at, there is only maybe 250 people on Instagram that I'm reaching. And there's a few people reaching out onto other Facebook groups, but we're still talking about a real drop in the hat. I don't have support of our Discord channel, our medical Discord channel,
Mhm.
with 10 people on it. I don't have support of all these other spaces, and we're not allowed to advertise. So you end up with all these hurdles in front of you. Like, you start to decide, what do you want to play with? And
Yeah.
exactly as you said, Mud, well, I'm sorry for somebody else, but get at us, because if we can get 20 people together that all want to put their hand up to say we're willing to put ourselves against each other, then we
Yeah.
can make this happen. Yes, you have to pay some money to be involved.
Yep.
Yes, the rewards to begin with aren't going to be some big fancy thing, but what you're going to get is some form of medal, some sort of recognition, and the
Yeah.
ability to say you won it.
Yeah.
And a bit like Survivor, what do you want to do? Would you rather go to the first Survivor, or would you rather go to Survivor 20, where everyone's watched it for 20 years and kids have grown up from 7,
Look,
going to
people
school,
are
and they want to
hanging.
do it with Survivor,
Yeah.
and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're like, I don't want to play that game. That game doesn't look fun anymore. It's like
Yeah, a
playing
lot of
Monopoly with real estate
yeah.
agents. You don't want to play
Oh,
anymore.
exactly. A
I
lot
want
of
to play
what
with plumbers.
actually
Plumbers
goes
aren't
on,
that
from
onto
my
it,
understanding,
what I
has got
understand.
really clicky. So, people are really eager to see somewhere where, new people are actually not excluded. Things
Yep.
get real clicky over
It's
here
not the
real
old
quick,
boys
and
club
people are
anymore, guys.
excluded, and,
You got it.
um,
And look, heaven forbid somebody from that clique comes in and wins it. Because what I've challenged
that's
those guys
okay.
But that's
Because
good though.
is,
That means it's good
and,
spread it
product.
but
out a bit more.
that's what I challenged
Yeah.
them to do. Is
Yeah,
at the end of the
exactly.
day, if you don't play, don't
Yeah.
complain.
Exactly.
I'd
Yeah.
also,
We're gonna open the field.
I'd like to touch on, you say it's going to cost a bit of money to get involved. In saying that, yeah, it costs a bit of money to get involved in society too. You want to drive on a highway in a city, you better pay 3 tolls. You're going to pay taxes. You're going to pay for that drink you bought at the server. You're going to pay everything. So I'm not saying it's necessarily a tax, but it's support. If you want to be a part of a society or a community and you want to see it grow, then you have to support it in some way. That's why we
Whatever
all
way.
pay taxes
Exactly.
in the communities we're
Yeah.
in. Are you going to turn around and deny tax to the government? No. Why? Because you'll be violently reacted to. Are you going to help us out? No. Okay, cool. You're not helping us out. You know
Any
what I
event
mean? Like,
takes
yeah.
a percentage
That's
of
right.
money, because that's just what it costs. Things just cost. It's not paying wages,
Well,
it's paying for
yeah,
events to
and I
actually
don't mind.
happen. Yeah,
If you
and
can't afford
people,
to be a part of
yeah,
it, that's okay.
you
We're
have
not
the
here to
ones that,
exclude you.
yeah, I'd love to support you financially, and they're the ones, not everyone gives money. I think, I like them better when they are donation based, because some people are money givers. That's the way they can contribute. Other people can give of their time,
Um,
or, give of their skills or whatever. So I think, there's a lot of things to open up to, and it's just about the people stepping up and saying, yeah, I want to be a part of it. And I think there's a lot out there that are really hanging for some stuff to do,
look,
celebrations to be a part of. Yeah.
it's funny thing. I used to work events, and I used to say to people, 100% of getting into an event is turning up.
Yeah.
Because if you don't turn up, you can't go. And I don't
No,
care if
and
it's Ed
once you turn up,
Sheeran
you'll have
or
fun.
the Wallabies. If you
Yeah.
ain't there, you're not.
Yeah.
You can't go to a show you're not at.
Yeah.
Now the next thing is, okay, so you got a ticket. Now
Yeah.
the ticket's just a bit of a complication, because the reality is, if you walk up to anybody, and I did this with my brothers. You guys remember the big day outs? Of course you do. Weren't they the fucking
Yep.
bees? Now I worked big day outs. I worked them for years, and the next year after working one, I didn't have a job working there. My brothers and his mates were all going, and I said to them, I promise you I'll get in. And they go, what do you mean? And I said, I got no money, but pay for my ticket on the bus, and I promise you I'll get in. And all I did was walk up and high five the guy that was taking the tickets, and I said, I know your boss, and I walked to the security. And I put my hands up, and the security patted me down, and I walked in.
Yeah.
And they all just stood there and
Yeah.
looked at me. And they were like, that's a $115 ticket, mate. And you just walked straight in. And I go, who the fuck was going to stop me?
Yeah.
You're kind of
Not
spot on.
the 12-year-old kid. But the reality became, just show up. So like
Yeah.
Tink said, I don't know what you got to offer. But you can argue about the money and you can argue about this, but the truth is, you turn up with a big smile and a can-do attitude, and
Yeah.
mate, you got a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a job, mate. I'll invite you to the next one.
Yeah. That's
You know,
exactly
so
right. Yeah. Speaking my language, exactly.
yeah, we
Go up and be
you know, I
willing.
don't have a lot to offer, and
Mm.
and the other thing we've tried to do though is get the guys that are leaning on the community to put the money where their mouth is. You know, and
Exactly.
it's been really good to have
Yep.
people that can donate, people
Yep.
that have got money, pay money.
Yep.
But the reality
Yep.
is it's not a tax. This is
No.
what you need to do if you want to be
Yep.
part of this community, and we'll make
Exactly.
sure your name's
Support.
Yeah,
mentioned.
well said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Support
well
how
said,
you mean
mate.
to. Exactly. Yeah.
Because I've
Yeah.
got guys that
And
don't
be the change you
support
want to
anything
see.
that is still
Yeah,
Exactly.
there, and I'm
live your
just
own
like, I
change.
don't understand it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not trying to dig at them, but I just keep looking
Mm.
at them going, well, you know, each time it's going to cost you more to step up and get into it because
Yep.
we're moving forward,
Exactly.
you know, and you still want to be a part of it, but come on, bro. Like,
Mm. Yeah.
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 but you
it's
get the
interesting.
balls to say it once you've been around a while.
Well, you want to be involved in these peers, help out your peers as well.
Yeah.
It's not pay gated, but it's an appreciation that is noted because
Yeah.
it's what allows people to do things. And I what you said was very true. Where you rock up. If you don't show up, you're not gonna get anything done. You know, I say you miss 100% of the shots you don't take,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
it's actually I'll use my where I'm sitting right now as an example.
Mm.
So how I ended up with the WRC and everything like that was I showed up.
Mm.
I found a way here and I showed up.
Yeah.
And I was friends with people and I spoke and I became a part of things. And you literally just show up.
Yep. Exactly, mate. Yep.
Yeah.
You show
That's
up,
it.
you made your voice heard, and I went, hang on. And then
Yeah.
everyone else went, hang on, we need to hear more from this bloke.
Yeah. You're meant to be here.
No
man.
idea why yet, but we'll figure that out, I guess.
You may not, but
Oh,
we
big
do.
nervous,
We all
mate.
do.
I'm the same. Still trying to figure out what I'm doing here, but we'll
Oh, mate.
keep paddling.
We're obviously doing something right because we're here. But
I've been pushing
You
for
haven't told
this
me to
for
paddle in the other
years.
direction,
So I
so I'm
know.
going to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and exactly on what you were saying, Mud, too. You know, like that's the thing. I've fired off some emails recently I didn't think I'd get a response to, to people coming on here, and
100%.
Yeah.
Very
I've had
grateful for of
some
that.
very overwhelming responses. So
Awesome.
From not even within our own community either, just to clarify. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I've had no contact with some of these people at all, and they have, like you say, not a lot to do with our community, in general. So for them to
But still a whole lot. It's a weird concept. You'll
Yeah,
understand
it
soon. This
is.
is a good one coming up, guys. Yeah.
It is. Sorry to talk a bit cryptic, but yeah, you'll understand soon. But yeah, like comes back to exactly what Mud and Tony are saying. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, stand up. We're here. We're willing to stand up with you.
And if
Come
your first
say
steps
g'day
just joining the
and have a
Discord,
chat.
just join the Discord, yeah.
Yeah, just come say g'day. Share a wave if that's all you share, and have a poke around and lurk in the background. See what we're up to. See what we stand for.
And if
also
need be,
explore.
get a bit
There's
of
lots of platforms to
Yes.
find us on. Like don't get me wrong, I find Discord overwhelming sometimes. But there's lots of ways to connect. And it might just be as simple as refreshing your Spotify and just seeing if we're having another yarn.
Yeah,
It
correct.
doesn't even
Yeah.
have to be as intense as trying to find your way through and put your status up or you don't have to sit and type anything.
No, but in
just have
saying
us
that,
in
I'd
your
appreciate
earball.
a share. Like, just share us. That'd be
Absolutely.
great.
well, that's a
That's
big
the
one
best thing,
too.
is if it's on Spotify or wherever you find us, like it and share us and interact the best you can on that platform.
Yeah.
Yes. If you have a home that you like and you're already interacting there and you've already got your community there and you just catch us every now and again and everything like that, that's fantastic. This is exactly what we're talking about. Shoot a share on your area, shoot it around in your community, reciprocate it a little bit because you don't have to sit here and listen to us drone on for 4 hours on a bloody whatever today is, a bloody Tuesday, or it's now Wednesday. But you can share it and that will help.
Yeah,
our
and you
cause
might
too.
know exactly someone in your circle might help them. Yeah,
Yes.
and
Just
that's
like some of the
exactly
things we've
how
shared
these things
here.
grow. Exactly.
Some things
mate.
were shared here, they might go to other people's places that are somewhat adjacent to here, and they may find a home better there. That's humans.
Yeah. That's called the connections. It's good.
Yep.
It's networking. It's great.
And at the end of the day, it's what we're here for, and it's all for cannabis. So I'm all
Yep.
for all of it.
Cannabis and humans.
As long as they're humans being human.
Mm.
They don't get counted as humans if they're not, mate.
There's pretty hardcore Harrys out there, mate. Fuck.
Yeah.
I'd rather be a hardcore Harry, I think, than a human.
Oh, I love it, mate. You guys are a bloody good
I
inspiration.
think we
Like,
might have different
I really
definitions of human then, Tink.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I get a bit stuck on these matrix names, labels. Sorry, dude. It's just about the word usually.
Well,
It's not about
human is an animal.
per se.
I refer to humans as a species much as I refer to a canine as a dog.
Okay,
So,
cool.
yeah, that's where I
The
come from.
mammal in us. Yeah.
Yes, the fundamentals in
human.
us that loves and shares and hunts and
Yeah.
fishes and eats and sleeps with his, everything
Yeah.
like that. None of the money and that's all fake. None of that's
Yeah.
real. If I can't go out in the bush and break it off a tree or have fun with it out in the bush, then it's not real to me.
Yeah. Well, it is a concept that we're living under, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
yes, it is.
really,
And we're
at
not
some
real anyway, as I
illusion.
always say. We're not real
Yeah.
anyway.
No.
And I think that's pretty much wraps up our whole
Yeah,
chat
sorry,
today.
guys.
We are not real anyway, correct?
No.
It's
Just an
we're all
illusion.
in a simulation.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all made up of something that's just made up of the grand combination of nature anyway. So what we're making ourselves is just a mockery of what it made us anyway. We're not real. Nothing we do
we're
matters.
beautiful, wonderful miracles. Come on. We are.
Well, yeah, that's sort of what I'm saying. But
Well, we're all made up of stardust, aren't we?
yeah, what I'm saying is nature created us to be nature, and our perceptions are completely irrelevant. We're all made of the same shit.
Yeah.
I'm made of the same
Exactly,
thing as what my dog drops out of its ass, mate.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's exactly
I
right.
just don't think this is what Americans start to think when they hear English people talk. I can't understand what the fuck you guys are saying.
Oh, that pleases me so much.
I'm
sorry.
terrible.
It really does.
It's like I'm getting the odd poetic word in there, and then I'm like, fucking, what's the rest of it? But
Yeah.
I'm pretty
I
bad
love
for it too. I'm
Dog
one
shit.
of the harder ones. Yeah.
Oh,
And
Tony,
Yeah, we're all
mate,
dog shit. There you go, mate. We're all just pieces of dog shit. Is the long and the short of it.
that was pretty much Mud's sum up there. Tony, what closing words have you got to our community, mate? To the Australian community, what's some closing words you can share with us?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you, man. Let's keep it up. Let's keep moving forward, and we'll see you at the next one. We got to have these rest stops. We got to have time where we refuel and we decide whether we're going to carry on the race. But for the majority of us, the decision isn't so much if it's how we're going to carry on the race.
Yeah.
So let's just keep regrouping, refueling, and just making sure that we keep navigating the best we can. We got a positive future, and we all know what it does for us. And as long as that's what we talk into, how much it can help our lives, people will find where it sits for them.
Yeah.
So
I like
yeah,
that.
that's about where
Well
sit.
said, mate. Well said,
Yeah.
mate.
Love the bloody lot of you, eh?
I appreciate you. I love you too, mate, and
Yeah.
appreciate you taking the time to join us. And I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules and things like that to lock us in for once a month.
Mm.
Yeah, fucking
I always appreciate time
Midnight.
that people take away from their families. So
love they lads.
I love it.
Love
It's
you
good
all.
fun. It's good fun.
All
man.
right, and I think that brings us to the end of our chat today with Tony and Aotearoa Dispensary. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today at the Terpene table. Hopefully you got some value out of our little chat and our banter and digressions here today. And thank you, Mud, thank you, Tink, and thanks, Tony, and a big thanks to Timmy, who's not here with us at the moment.
and thanks to the
Rick.
audience. Thanks for everybody that hung around and
Yeah.
was speaking in the live chat and everything. That was cool. That was really cool.
Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah, big
It's
shout
been a
out to you
pleasure.
guys for getting
Yeah.
involved. Thank you.
Bless you guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. We'll see you all in a few weeks.
Mm.
Much
Cheers.
love all.
This episode of the Terpene Table is brought to you by Growers Pal. Aussie legends when it comes to keeping your clones safe in transit. If you've ever tried to post a cutting wrapped in wet paper towel and cling wrap, you'll know it's a gamble at best. Growers Pal clone shippers take the guesswork out of it. Purpose built with segmented compartments to keep your genetics snug, and even a little LED light to keep them happy on the road. Whether they're headed up the coast or across the country, you can trust your prize cuts will land fresh, not fried. They're mates of the Roo and they're mates of the Discord, so you know their growers looking out for you, not just trying to sell you something. Head over to growerspower.com.au. That's www.growerspal.com.au and sort yourself out with a proper kit for moving your genetics across the country. Because good clones deserve a fair dinkum, safe ride.
At Blazing Trail, we're on a joyful adventure celebrating life, love, and nature's beauty. We cultivate vibrant outdoor connections, foster community collaborations, and source wholesome treasures like our Sprout seed starter for precise, energy-efficient germination and FlexiGerm silicon seed pods for sustainable, airflow-enhanced sprouting. All with the care for our world. Join us in blazing a sustainable trail filled with laughter and magic. Visit blazingtrail.com.au.
While we're on the subject of good gear, I'm going to give a cheeky shout out to my own spot, the Wild Vault. It's packed with glass, gadgets, and grow gear. All the little treasures that make your sesh just that bit sweeter. So, if you're looking for something fresh to add to your kit, swing by thewildvault.xyz and have a sticky beak. It's basically a toy box for grown-up stoners. And hey, if it's genetics you're chasing, head over to our mates at wildrootcultivars.com and check out what they've got cooking. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time at the Terpene Table.